You can make mine a double, whether yak or the wealthy, don't matter, just keep them calm. Bless the bottle and pass the drink. It's the Chi-Town tradition. Welcome to my city, let me show you how we kick. Bless the bottle and pass the drink.
Asiatic black man, maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and god of the universe. Not the planet, of the universe. And then they said, ain't nothing is spooky? Now that's spooky.
Yeah, check it, look, so I faded dark, play at the start, play my part better than a good kid, play at the park, stay away from the knock, unmarked and undercovers, cops, police, whoever after the brothers, uplift black mothers, encourage the dare to stay, what you wanna do tomorrow starts from the day, before you get paid, how much you gotta pay, along with dudes, get it right, don't be confused, keep cool. Cool is something you need to keep the heat is real, but don't be hot in the streets. Streets is watching, police popping everybody off, cause the rats speaking and talking. Too often it happens like black on black crime. Another brother killed with time like flat laughs. Too many women giving brain, now they lack mass. Too many artists in the game with rap raps. So these dope tracks, nigga, dope raps. Ayy, play this, get some all that. Yeah, play this, get some all that. Go, play this, get some all that. It's just hip hop, black facts. Play this, get some all that. Yeah, play this, get some all that. Okay, play this. Check it, look, the guy conscious open the ass in the morning. Open mouths get fed till money, no yawning. On the Blackberry storming, cautious as a warning. Bullets leave you wet when it's raining, it's pouring. Hope you ain't snoring, sleep in peace. Food for thought, don't get fed to the belly of the beast. Don't be the feast, infected like yeast. Snitches' tongues get cut out, they're saying the least. However, I speak my pieces if I talk with a gun. Hotter than the devil when he walk in the sun. Go get it, get the money if he walk in the run. Don't matter long as outcome, run income, get it done. What need to be done, go do it, nigga. Explore all options, be a tourist. Learned about self, better than the Buddhist. This a hit this, get addicted to it, bitch. Dope tracks, dope raps. Play this, get some all that. Yeah, play this, get some all that. Play this, get some all that. It's just hip hop, black facts. Play this, get some all that. Nigga, play this, get some all that. Go, play this, get some all that. Dope tracks, dope raps. Play this, get some all that. I say, play this, get some all that. You need to play this, get some all that. It's just hip hop, black facts. Play this, get some all that. Nigga, play this, get some all that. Bitch, play this, get some all that. Yeah. TAC. The high-end conscious. You was cool. True Hill Crusaders. Let's go.
Basically, I was raised in these mazes, named the streets for players of reputations. Faithfully make G's with more cake pastries than bakeries. Deal with equations ranging from A to Z. Touch more bricks than Mason, serving like maitre d's. Pitching like we in the major leagues. Occasionally blazing bees, seeking that painful peace amongst a parade of fiends afraid to sleep. Dazed in the range, losing days of Z's. That's why my old girl prayed for me every day, cause I'm faded like tapers at the table. G, I can't take it, I can't wait to escape and leave, cause this basement is no place to stay for me. But I believe I'm the creator, I create the scenes that can't be seen just by the way I think and breathe. Time and the place in this game of life when you gotta decide your fate or pay the price. Let the voice inside you guide you. My main advice is never change your life, just change your life. There comes a time and a place in this game of life when you gotta decide your fate or pay the price. Let the voice inside you guide you. My main advice is never change your life, just change your life. In high school she was average, mostly C's and D's. Same shit, now she high too, mostly off C and D. Now I have my loot clothes, CDs and DVDs. Easily these things could leave, cause she a sneaky thief, trust me. Always fussing, starting shit, I hear her arguments with the mirror regarding her appearance, her health declines thusly. First her mind, then abruptly she finds herself mumbling all the time to herself, trying to find herself by dealers that sell. Insecure, still in a shell, killing herself. And as long as she been blowing, it never seems to soak in. When she has convulsion, shivering like she cold, and my cousins ask me where they moms be. I'ma tell her my auntie on the concrete, walking dead like zombies. Time and the place in this game of life when you gotta decide your fate or pay the price. Let the voice inside you guide you. My main advice is never change your life, just change your life. There comes a time and a place in this game of life when you gotta decide your fate or pay the price. Let the voice inside you guide you. My main advice is never change your life, just change your life. I've been debating on rearranging my life. I'm at a different stage of the game in my life. This is why I listen when I'm praying at night for answers to the questions that I'm stressing to fight. Lord knows the fortune is a goal, but I'm not forcing my soul to be sold between the forks in the road in order to blow. What can I leave beside my corpse when I'm gone? And my CDs with assortments of songs. The course I chose to school me was these cruel streets, and it used to fool me till I learned how to do me. Take a look, see at how the hood eat, misunderstood by crooks, thieves, good green and cooks see. I'ma tell you how it should be. The great leaders empower the people so they can see through the powers that be. But instead they carry on like cowards to me, abuse their power to speak while these streets devour the weak. I was told that the soul creates and the mind reacts. I chose my fate, ain't no rewinding me back. Every day's a gift from God, that's why it's called a present. If you believe, you receive and see all the blessings. There's a time and a place in this game of life when you gotta decide your fate or pay the price. Let the voice inside you guide you. My main advice is never change your life, just change your life. There comes a time and a place in this game of life when you gotta decide your fate or pay the price. Let the voice inside you guide you. My main advice is never change your life, just change your life.
Monkey, keep it funky, aight? Monkey, keep it funky, aight?
Hold up, man, you know what I'm saying? So I be telling these niggas, man, shit ain't the game, man. Shit
Time
real.
done.
With the power, you're gifted with the power. You're gifted with the power. You're gifted with the power. You're gifted with the head up above. Activate me. You're gifted with the power. 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 You're gifted with the head up above. Activate me.
That's why we shine wherever we go. 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 Lord, Lord. Welcome to the mind of a pothead. On my head, see a young nigga got dressed. We don't give a fuck what the cop said. I'm living a legacy. So even when I die, I am not dead. Nigga, I am not dead.
fuck with me.
Hey, how about that?
But I think it's an interesting conversation
Yeah,
because I know a bunch of niggas who's had that
Go ahead, keep going on. Like we're live. Keep going.
conversation at all.
We are
to the Patreon.
we live, baby.
We'll talk about it there.
We live, baby. I'm just trying to get my screen set. That's weird. Y'all done some real weird stuff with this thing lately, man.
It seems like every time we come in here, we start having technical difficulties.
That's fine. I need
Like
this
every
one.
other show goes off with a hitch, but when we walk in the room,
Okay, well, add it.
Ron does some Ron shit, and it be all downhill.
Let's try this. Let's try this. Good afternoon to you wonderful people. Welcome to this Friday edition of I Said What I Said. We are live, Toussaint. Live.
By the time we went live, I wouldn't talk about shit anyway. So
From inside the What's In It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Werner and Juliet Scott and Ron Rilla. My name is Herb Howard. Thank y'all so very, very much for tuning in. We are here each and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., and we're discussing issues that are currently impacting the black community, how those issues impact us as individuals, but also how they impact us as a collective. And along with your help, we talk through many of these issues in hopes of finding the optimum solutions for how we can overcome said issues. Again, we want to overcome them as individuals, but perhaps more importantly, at least in our opinion, overcome them as a collective. So thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to be a part of this conversation. As always, your input is valued. It is certainly appreciated. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. We will read through as many of your comments as possible while we go through the show. We would kindly request that you please take a quick second to share the broadcast. Share it on your personal page. Share it even within your personal network with absolutely anyone that you think would add value to or find value in this particular conversation. We welcome them to be a part of the discussion because we think that the more like-minded individuals we can get to be a part of that discussion, the better the opportunities we have of reaching those aforementioned solutions. Now, when I say like-minded, I don't mean that we are always in agreement. That is not what happens here. Tu and I don't always agree. The rest of the Israel's family don't always agree with us. It's not about agreeing. It's about understanding that there's some issues in our community and being actively engaged in trying to solve those issues. So we want as many of those people in here as possible. So please, 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 if you would be so kind, take a quick second to share the broadcast. Again, this is I Said What I Said. It is intellectual thuggery at its absolute finest on a Relationship Friday, no less. My name is Herb. His name is Tu. Tu, what's happening, good brother?
what's up, family? I'm blessed and highly favored. Hey, real quick, before we get into the conversation.
What's the word?
You know, I've been on the Sadiq don't eat no meat diet.
You have been.
Vegan diet.
Animal free?
Animal free joint.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday we had a good day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was late. I was running. I was like, man, fuck this. I'm going to get on the bike. Got on the bike. Got 35th. Fuck this. I'm going to go to the gym. Went to the gym.
Fancy.
Left the gym. Said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to ride to the local courts.
Triathlon.
My son
Why
was
not?
Probably up there. And I really was just going to watch him. I go watch him play up there every now and then.
But then you got the itch?
Now I got the itch, right? I only got the itch, though, because they was punking him up there. They be grown men, but he can play better than most of them, in my opinion. So they don't play like we used to play at the park. It's a gay game these days. It really is. But either way,
Okay.
I see a shorty on the side, and I say, shorty, I'm saying shorty, but he obviously 20-something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Full beard, everything.
Sure.
I said, man, you got next. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, let me rock with you. It ain't 5 people on the sideline. He was like, I got my 5. Now I know how that go. It may be some 5 scragglers around here somewhere that I just ain't seen.
Sure.
So I ain't tripping. But then I'm him communicating while they playing. He was like, I got him and him too.
He's trying to put his team together.
People on the court.
Oh, no.
On the court now. You're not going to let me play because people
Because
on
you
the
saving
court.
spots for the team. Whoever lose,
Yeah,
whoever
I
might
said,
lose.
Man, what kind of homosexual shit is this? And I said it, I said it just like that. So he's looking at me like on some tough Tony.
What is wrong with him, man?
What they call themselves around my house? Young Money. That's the little gang niggas around my house. So he hit me with the Young Money like, fuck is you talking about? The fuck is you? You know, I'm on the same shit. I said, you know what? Don't worry about it, little man. I'm going to get my 5 and we're going to beat your ass.
Right.
That's
How about
what
that?
we're going to do now. Now it's ego.
Right.
My ego's all over the place
Right.
at this point.
Right.
I got to beat this
Now I'm
little
hooping.
ass. Now I'm hooping. I wasn't sure at first.
All right.
Now I'm going to hoop. Because you're garbage anyway. I would be there. I bet everybody on the court.
Right.
So I was like, we got next. And I told my son, I said, don't you ever run with this nigga ever again in your life. You going to play with me next, and we going to dog walk everybody that plays. And I played, G, and I killed, but I paid for it that evening. But shout out to Sadiq, because I couldn't have did that shit last month.
Hey, Sadiq is a healer. Sadiq has the healing properties.
It's a good day, man. So, how you?
I'm good, man. I ain't got nothing to complain about. I am honestly on 0 minutes of sleep, and I feel good. I'm not tired, but I didn't sleep last night, not for 1 second. I don't know why. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't out. I was at home. I even tried to go to sleep. It was just one of those. I've struggled with insomnia, man, for, I don't know, past year and a half. I just struggle with insomnia.
They say that's a sign of depression and genius. But they also say genius is a sign of depression.
Yeah, it's both. I'm sure it's a bit of both.
That's why the colloquialism, ignorance is bliss. Mm-hmm. It is. Genius is suffer.
Yeah,
the more you know, the more suffers you go through.
For sure.
Because it's always cranking, like your mind is just going.
Yeah, yep. I'm sure it was a little bit of both. I'm sure it probably started with depression. I'm certainly not depressed now. I would probably tell you I wasn't depressed before, but maybe I fucking was. Right, I was dealing with a whole lot. I was dealing with a divorce, a catastrophic leg injury, a pandemic that shut down my industry completely as a entertainer and host and MC. So I was just dealing with a lot, and so that was probably keeping me up. And now that my leg is fine, my spirit is fine, now it's just about, okay, continuing to build, professionally, right? And maybe that keeps me up at night now. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what or I've just fallen into bad patterns over the course of the last year. And so it's just tough. It's tough for me to sleep. I also think that one of the things is, to be honest with you, I like sleeping with somebody. Like, I think I got used to it. I think that's really what it is. I think I really got used to being in the bed with another person.
I don't like that.
You don't? Mm-mm. See, I'm a cuddler.
I was just about to say the same thing. I'm a cuddler.
I'm a cuddler. I'm wrapping arms and legs and I'm holding, and like I got to let you go before you go to the bathroom. Like if you're trying to get up, like oh my bad, go ahead.
You have my permission.
Yeah, you can get up and go now.
Yeah, that's smothering.
Smothering?
I gotta tell you, I'll go sleep on the couch just
if your partner is the same. If your partner's the same, then it's not smothering. It's blissful.
No, it ain't even that. I'm not. And again, people hear this and say, "Oh, curmudgeon ass too." No, that's not what it is.
It's like curmudgeon. That's just like
I don't know, and maybe that's that Leo shit again too, though. Right? I think, and Jules just said she's a color, so maybe not Leo shit. I don't know, right? But I think we enjoy the crowd, but we also enjoy our independence.
Oh, believe it.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I need both of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that balance for me. I got to go back and forth between the lines. I can't stay on one side of no fence for too long. I don't know. It's just not in my nature.
No, I'm that way too, to be honest with you. I'm perfectly comfortable being around a whole lot of people, and I kind of thrive in those situations. But I also absolutely need herb time. I need to be left alone. And generally speaking, over the course of my life, and I don't know, this is because I grew up in a busy, heavily populated household, but my personal time has always been in the bathroom. Like, I'll go to the bathroom and sit on the toilet for like 2 hours.
That's real shit.
Like, dead ass. I just be, and people like, you can't be using the bathroom for 2 hours. Nah, it's just me time.
Yep,
Leave me the fuck alone.
Space.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I come up with great ideas in here. I'm peaceful in here. I'm not bothering you. Why are you knocking on the door bothering me?
That's
Go
black
away.
poverty too, though.
Huh?
That's black poverty too, though.
Yeah, ain't no space.
Ain't no space. And I do the same shit, but it's real. You know, it's real.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like even being in my household, it's just me and my daughter, but sometimes I actually prefer to like sit in the car, like in the driveway. It's other rooms, but I need to feel the whole space with me, all of what I got.
Yeah, because it's energy too, right? It's not just the physical space. It's the energetic space, right? The spiritual space is impacted just by other people being around. It's people you love, like, and all that. But I need only my spirit flowing through this space right now. And so the bathroom is that space for me. I go in there, birthday soup, sit down,
When we got
post
the
for
crib
2
over-
hours.
When we got the crib over here, we had the bathtub with the jets. Worst shit in the world for me. Because I'm doing exactly what you said, but I'm sitting in that bathtub for an hour and a half with them damn jets. I got that bathtub looking like Benjamin Button. Crazy, G. But I use that time. You need that time. You know, I get it for sure.
And also I do getaways, like out Niles, Schaumburg, whatever, are places I go to get my space as well.
That's super dope.
Nicole said your legs have to be numb after 2 hours. Everybody says that all the time. And I guess maybe at some point they do, but I've been doing it for so long. I've literally been doing this my whole life. Like, I've been doing this forever. And so it don't feel like nothing to me. That's just kind of how I do. If I go in the bathroom, I'm not going to be out in 10 minutes. Like, just go do something else. Like, if you see me go in the bathroom, if I'm in there for 2 minutes, I'm going to be in there for 2 hours, right?
My wife argues at me because I lock the door.
Interesting.
And that's the whole purpose, though. I want you to stay the fuck out. I want everybody to stay the fuck out.
You in here.
Everybody go away.
Yeah, leave me alone. Like,
Leave me alone.
it's like as soon as you get in there, somebody's, hey.
Need some stupid shit, too.
What
You know
the
what I mean?
fuck? Like, no. 17 toilets in here. Go use a different one.
You know,
I need some lotion. Go outside, ashy. Get out my face.
Yeah, that's true.
it's funny because like my girlfriends and I will get on chat once a month, and she's like, you can tell we got old because we talk about being in the bathroom. Like that's not something you do when you're younger. So the opening part was us being in the bathroom and having our space.
Yeah, it be like that sometimes.
real.
Jules, how are you today? I didn't even say hello to you.
I am excellent.
Welcome back. Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to come hang out with us yet again on a Relationship Friday.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoy this community and this family.
As do we. Thank you for being a part of it.
So shout out to Raymond Hubbard. He just said we still on the soil because we didn't switch out the title, so we still recording on Jane and them show.
Well,
Leave it to Ron.
Lil Ron is here.
Ron will
Shaking his head
fuck it
like,
up
no.
for sure.
Lil Ron is here.
Not
So
true.
if you're looking for a Relationship Friday later on, just go back and watch the 4-hour episode of On the Soil and just cut it off at the 2-hour mark, and then you'll see us.
Only Ron. Only Ron.
There won't be an I said what I said.
And then
for this
denied
Friday.
it as I'm looking at the shit. Says, "What's what media presents on the soil with the bigs?"
Hey, you know,
He's like, "No, it's not on there. No,
you know, listen,
But that's what you're supposed to say. No, it wasn't me. Like,
not on the soil. No."
listen.
I didn't do it. That's not
It
what's
is-
happening here.
It is what it is. Ron is a habitual screw up, and that's just what he does. You know what I'm saying?
Guys,
Just
And now we've lost the video. This
now he
last
shut it
video is
down.
ended.
Jesus Christ of
See,
Latter-day
that's it. He
Saints.
said, I'll fix you guys.
Come on, y'all still on YouTube. I'm just checking.
Did you end that video?
Yeah.
You did?
It's still on. Y'all still rotating on YouTube and everything else.
Yeah,
So
that's-
you just knocked all our
Just
Facebook
changed
listeners
the
off.
Title.
So you just knocked all our Facebook listeners off? Fuck them, huh? That's how you rocking?
Jesus Christ. of
Only
Latter-day
Ron. Yeah, I
Saints,
swear to
man.
God, he makes a bunch of
back
bad
up.
moves.
It's,
Back up.
it's-
Calm down.
it's not. It's just you know.
God
What can you
damn.
do? What can you do with
You're
it?
like,
You know
slow
what I'm
it
saying?
down. That's fine.
Man.
There's just not a whole lot you can do with it, brother. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder if we could trade him for a Buick.
Hell no.
You don't think somebody give us a Buick?
Fuck no. Not a. They wouldn't give us a Le Mans for Ron. They wouldn't give us a skateboard with 3 wheels. Okay.
I'm going to reshare just in case.
My brother had a Le Mans when he was probably like 16. I think that was his first car. I don't even remember who makes Le Mans, right? This car, at some point, it stopped going in reverse, right? So he could not go in reverse at all, right? He could only go forward,
I remember them cars.
right?
It wasn't that specific car, but somebody in the hood always had that car.
And it's fine if you live over for like 95th. It is
Not over east.
It is not okay when you live over
That's
east.
true. It is not.
Because parking over there is a crapshoot at best. Okay, so if you can't parallel park and back up into a space,
You're assed
you
out.
cook. You come home late. Think how long you got to drive around these blocks to find a spot that you
your
can
ass
just
gonna have to
pull
park in the
into
islands.
at the court. You know what I'm saying? Like you can just pull into. You dead, fam. It's over with.
That's horrible.
He sure had that car, man, that did not go in reverse. One day I'm gonna have to get him on here and tell the stories about that car. Then after that,
Still was the man, though.
oh, he was definitely the man. He was
Still the man.
he was
All
pulling.
you needed was a whip. Just
He was pulling. Oh, what Kanye say? Back in that time, if you had a car, you was the Chi-Town version of Baby.
That's true.
And I was just a virgin of Baby. Yeah, he was definitely still getting it. Everything he needed to get done, he was getting it done. Then he got a MC. He got a Monte Carlo SS.
definitely killing them then.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't wait for that fool to. So once the Monte Carlo, he go to college, right? When he first went to college, he go up there. His coach tell him that they can't bring cars in on their first year. He like, it's too big a distraction. Tom Crean just didn't play that shit, right? So he like, nah, no cars, right? So I'm like, damn, bro, that's fucked up. Yes, like I got the MC now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm finna go into my sophomore year. I'm just getting my license. I got my permit.
Kill 'em.
I'm finna be going crazy in the MC. While I still got my permit and I'm waiting to get my license, right? My mama comes to pick me up from school in the MC, right? We are leaving from over where Whitney Young is. And if you know where Whitney Young is, you got to kind of like cross 290 to get on the ramp to go back south or whatever, right? East and south. Anyhow, at that time of day, the left turn lane will be backed up all the way across the bridge, and it'll take you 3-4 lights to be able to make that turn.
What you trying to explain to us is that you really wasn't a skilled driver and you wrecked that motherfucker immediately?
No. Lorianne is not going to wait 3-4 lights for nothing.
Hell
Okay,
with that.
you've been in the car with her.
That's true.
Okay, she
It's
ain't waiting
genetic with
3-4 lights about anything.
That's true. I don't like being in the car with either of y'all. You
Yeah,
right.
I got it honest.
You did.
I got it honest. Okay,
right.
you
You're
thought
right.
you didn't like riding with me until you was riding with her. And you like
You're absolutely
two be in the
right.
car holding on to whatever he can grab.
You're
Two
absolutely
holding on
right.
to napkins. Like what you holding on to a napkin for? Like what the fuck is the napkin gonna do? Like, but anyway, because she don't want to wait her turn to turn, she's like, oh, I'm just gonna go all around all these cars in the right lane, get up to the light, bust it left, right? She did it every time she's ever gone to Whitney Young to pick me up. I knew she was gonna do it. Except this time, she decides to do it right in front of one of those old school Range Rovers with the big stupid grill on it. She turns, I'm in the passenger seat, turns, Range hits me. Boom.
Wow.
No more MC, son.
Dead, huh?
MC, rap. Shitty.
First car I got to drive, it was a Nissan Sentra. And it was a blessing from my older sister. It wasn't my car, but she was allowing me to drive her car when no one else would let me drive their car, right? But I was a young, dumb nigga doing a lot of dumb, young, wild shit.
That's what young niggas do.
New Year's Eve, 1990 some shit.
Okay.
You understand me?
Uh-huh.
Got about 3 cats in the car with me. Just picked up about a £1/4 pound. About to hit this party, finna make some bread. I'm living. You know what I'm saying? I'm Scarface
Finna get
out
this
this
QP
motherfucker.
off?
Get
Right.
this yellow
This is
Nissan
not sounding
Sentra.
good.
You understand
Okay.
me? Okay.
Wait.
I reloaded.
You got a QP in a yellow
Yellow
Sentra?
2-door Nissan Sentra. This is the Nissan Sentra with the pointy front, straight back. You know what I mean? Them joints. Look like the kid drawing cars.
You know how I know y'all not good at your job?
You know what? Quit it.
This nigga got a QP in a yellow 2-door.
That's right.
Come on.
I'm killing them out here, right? On my way to South Holland, finna get some money off these little suburban kids.
Uh-huh.
Have a great night. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there's a little frontage road when you get off on whatever that is. What's that? 170, whatever it is. There's a frontage road to go to South Holland instead of going all the way through the River Oaks way.
Sure.
Okay.
So I'm on the frontage road, and maybe it rained a little bit earlier. So there's a turn, a left-hand turn and a guardrail, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going all that fast. I'm not a fast driver. I'm cool with my shit, right? So I'm driving, and I'm about to hit the turn, and I slow down and hit the brakes to glide into the turn, and the car must have hit a puddle or something, and it started hydroplaning. Because I'm dumb and not
Because I'm
accustomed to
dumb.
being behind the wheel of a car very often, I feel this shit immediately like I don't have control anymore, right? But I panic and I hit the brakes harder,
Yep.
which in turn makes the shit propel faster.
You lose control.
Gee, I rolled that guardrail out for half a block.
With the QP.
With the QP. So this is what happens, though. Because I'm with some other dumb niggas like me. They get out the car, we all get out the car, and I'm sick because I know my sister finna murder my ass. You understand me?
Oh.
It's over. This
Oh.
relationship is done. The only person in the house that trusted me, that shit's over, right?
Cook.
My guys look at me like, what you gonna do? What the fuck you mean what we do?
What is there to be done?
Gee, do you know these niggas said, all right, man, call us. They walked to the party in South Holland.
Chuck the deuce, fam. Did they take the QP?
No, I took that whole QP and said, Mythical Sky Daddy did this to me. And I threw that shit all across I-94. I was so disgusted. I threw that shit all the way across I-94.
God didn't want you to have it.
God didn't want me to have that shit.
See?
Got back in the game a few weeks later, get that car fixed.
I got another story. It's similar, but it's different. And I think the statute of limitations has passed on this. I was 19. I might have been 20. It was definitely my sophomore year in college. I'm in Carbondale, hanging out. My homeboy get a call from his cousin in Oklahoma, that he has pounds of mid for 500, right? He's like, I got as many as y'all want. You just got to come get them, right? So he hang up the phone. He like, yo, my cousin just said yada, 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 right? So he tell me and my other homeboy. So we like, well, fuck it. Like, let's go.
Way to Oklahoma.
Like, in college, weed sells itself. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is going to be the easiest thing ever, right? And so we pack up immediately. We don't, when I say we pack up, I just mean we got in the car, okay? We didn't pack a bag. We didn't take nothing, okay? We just got in my brand new Mustang, right? 3 19, 20-year-old niggas, hop on the E-way, drive straight to Oklahoma from Carbondale. Okay, I drive straight there. We get there, it's probably like 5 o'clock in the morning, right? We get there, his cousin let us in, open the door, the closet door. There is pounds of weed stacked up to the ceiling. That's probably, I would say, 20 units high and then out, maybe like another 3 or 4 units, right?
Getting all the mid money, huh?
All of it, right? And so he like, shit, how many y'all want? We have pulled together everything we have, right? Only thing we got left after what we're going to get from him is gas. That is it. We ain't eating on the way back home, nothing. Everything we got is going into this investment right here, all right? So we pack up, put it in the trunk, turn around and come right back, right? We don't sleep, we don't do nothing, right? Just turn around, come right back. Now, I'm like, listen, I'm going to set this car on cruise control, okay? And we're going to ride 65 from Oklahoma to Carbondale. At some point, I started to put my foot on the pedal. I don't know when or why, but at some point, I put my foot on the pedal. And shortly thereafter, I come around this, like, mountain, right? Come around this mountain, and sitting off in the embankment, there's a state trooper. And when I tell you that from coming around this curve, me and him looked at each other eye to eye, just like we looking at each other right now.
Knew it was a wrap.
From his car to my car, looked him right in his fucking face. And I was like, fuck.
It's a wrap.
So I just keep going, right? Sure enough, he busts his Huey, come out behind me. He don't turn his lights on yet. My boys don't even see it. They didn't see none of this happen yet, right? My heart is already in the floor. They don't even know what's going on yet. So I'm like, yo, the police on us, right? And these niggas, what? Turning around. Hey, don't start turning around, fam. Like, I'm telling you what's going on, right? And so, sure enough, he get behind me. As soon as he lighted up, before he was within, I don't know, however many yards of me, I just pulled over. I know it's me. You coming to see me, right? So I just pulled over, right? And I'm like, fuck, right? So I'm like, all right, how's this gonna go? So he come to the car. It is a old white man, like I just don't want to retire because I don't got shit else to do, right? So I'm like, we in the middle of Oklahoma. This old ass white man then just pulled over 3 young ass black dudes in a brand new Mustang with Illinois tags in the middle of fucking Oklahoma. We're going to jail, right? And so, but I'm just like, you know what? License, insurance, registration. I wasn't going that fast. I was just speeding a little bit. There you go, sir. Do you know that man comes back to the car and says, "Son, you step out of the car." I said, what? I said, why, sir? Your license is suspended. What an asshole I am, right? I don't know this. I didn't know that my license was suspended. I would not have driven down there to do that, at least, on a suspended license, all right? But apparently there was a rule or statute that says if you get 2 moving violations within 12 months under the age of 21, they'll automatically suspend your shit. And driving from Chicago to Carbondale, doing 100 into my Mustang, I had hella moving violations, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't know. The mail wasn't coming to my Carbondale address. It was going all the way back to the crib. So anyhow, he tells me my license is suspended. So I'm like, oh my God. Because now I know you can do whatever you want. You can search this car. You can impound this car. You can take this fucking car. And I'm like, oh.
Only one rule, man. Just keep talking.
That's it.
Just keep talking.
That's it. Remain calm. I tell you all the time, I value calm under pressure. It is one of the things I excel at, is just remaining calm while everything around you is going batshit crazy.
Man, I'll say anything. You ain't got your license? Hey, man, you like dogs?
I'm gonna tell you how I got out of this.
Hey,
I'm gonna tell you how this went.
I love dogs.
I get out the car. He does not handcuff me. He walks me back to his car, puts me in the passenger seat, the front passenger seat of his squad car. And he's like, let me figure out why your license is suspended. So I'm hearing him go back and forth with dispatch, trying to figure out why my license is suspended. And she's coming back and she's like, yeah, it doesn't say why. It's telling me that it's suspended. It doesn't say why. So he's like running for, does he have any warrants or anything like that? He's like, nah, he doesn't have any warrants, no criminal history, but the license is definitely suspended, right? And so as we're sitting there, he's got us checking all this shit. So we sitting back there. And so I just say, yo, what part of Oklahoma are we in? I'm like, is this like Oklahoma State territory or is this like Oklahoma Sooners territory? He says, well, this is Oklahoma State cowboy country here, but I'm a Sooner. I went to OU. We on. I said, that Adrian Peterson is something else.
He's a bitch.
Okay, that
He likes
Adrian
dogs.
Peterson. I think this was like Adrian Peterson rookie year in the league, and he got drafted to Minnesota. They're in the Bears division. They play twice a year, so I'm seeing Adrian Peterson. Plus, I knew who he was from college anyway. I'm like, that Adrian Peterson is a dog,
That
right?
man's a machine.
And so he says, oh my God, let me tell you. He says, last year I took my grandson to go see him play at OU, whatever they call a stadium. Took my grandson to go see him play, and I think he had like 290 yards or something like that. He was phenomenal. He hung around. He signed the ball for my kid. Me and this old white man talked about Adrian Peterson for about 20 minutes. Okay? We talked about Adrian Peterson for about 20 minutes. If I ever meet Adrian Peterson, I'm going to tell him you saved my life because I had a dime of Fed time at least in my trunk.
Man, the kid
You
just
talking
keep
about
talking.
trafficking interstate lines, trunk full of fucking weed, and we pulled over on a suspended license.
Talking. That's
Keep
all you
talking.
gotta do.
So we
Just
talked
keep
talked
talking.
Adrian Peterson for like 20 minutes, right?
She ain't had a license in 20 years. Every time I go out of town, I rent a car.
Right.
Just keep talking.
He says, so we get done talking about
I'm
this.
gonna put it to the test.
Dispatch comes through.
Something I need to
Keep
just
talking. That's it.
about.
Motherfuckers just signed me up with an ID for a license about 22 times at this point.
Dispatch
Just keep talking.
Dispatch came back through again, right? Dispatch come back through again, and she don't have no answer still, right? And so he's like, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna let you go with a warning. But you gotta slow down out here, right?
Gotcha, bucko.
Slow down. We go 40 back to Illinois for all I care. He like, why you guys down here anyway?
Weed.
And I was like, we loud.
That's not what
mid.
you say.
No, so I was like, nah.
talk about
I was like, my friend. We came down here to visit his aunt, so we just came down here for the weekend, and now we on our way back to school. He's like, yeah, okay, I can see you go to University of Illinois, and I was like,
Yup, we do.
in my head, I'm like, no, the fuck, don't I go to Southern Illinois? But I had on an Illinois hoodie. One of my boys played football up there, so I just had on the hoodie, right? And so he like, I see you go to University of Illinois. I'm like, yeah, I go wherever you say I go.
do.
I go to buttfuck state if you say so. Okay. Yep. Go there. So he like, all right, well, y'all be careful, right? And so he asked me, he was like, is there anything in the car I need to know about? I was like, not at all. He's like, you mind if I search it?
Guns, drugs.
He like, you mind if I search it? Not at all. Go right ahead, sir. I can't tell you no at this point anyway. Again, you can impound my whole car if you want to. I'm driving on suspended license, right? So I'm like, yeah, go right ahead. Search whatever you want, right? Gave him the keys. He doesn't move. It's like, cool. He's like, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to give you a warning. Y'all slow down, right? I get out the car. I walk around the front of his car, going to the driver's side of my car. He gets out of his car, steps out, say, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, fuck. He was like, you can't drive still. And I was like, oh, you're right. I tell my boy, I'm like, yo, get out, come drive this car, right? So he like, let me run his license. He run his license good, get in the car, go 60 to Illinois, fam.
You should have hit him with, my glove compartment is locked, so is the trunk in the back.
No.
And I know my rights, sir, so you're going to need a warrant.
I didn't have any rights, okay? I had forfeited all my rights by operating a motor vehicle with no
I
license.
say that to the police for so long, but I ain't got no license, so I'll do it.
Not that time. I was surprised that it didn't escalate, not so much because he was just talking, but I thought we was on the side of the road for a half hour. I'm knowing another squad car was going to pull up. And once it's 2 or 3 of them there, you cooked. It's over with. And so he let us go before anybody came. We drove all the way back to the to school in absolute silence.
Babies and fools, man.
One of my boys,
Praying, probably.
one of my boys that was in the front seat, he like, bro, I knew you was gonna talk your way out of it. My other boy in the
talking.
back, drenched, sweat. He
Niggas
said-
always make me nervous.
My
though.
homie in the front told me, he said, I had to keep him from jumping out of the car and running. I said, running where? We We in the middle of a fucking highway in Oklahoma. Where were you going? We don't have any money. I know you don't have any fucking money. Where were you going, sir?
Yeah.
I said, I would have beat your ass if I was back there talking our way out of this shit about Adrian Peterson and you just dart out that motherfucking car. I would have killed you, sir.
You know, I just thought about something when you said that. So I told you the accident was New Year's.
Yes.
My first police incident in the Centra was Christmas.
Yeah,
it was a
Christmas.
5-day span, and I tore everything up. So the first time, Christmas, we high as shit. We high as hell in the Centra, right? And the police pull us over. It's Christmas. It's Christmas Day. We high as...
This damn banana central.
You understand what I'm saying? High as hell. So the police pull us over. This me, Boog, and mother cousin Fonz.
Oh, yeah.
Tell everybody.
Everybody's in the car is ignorant. Everybody in the car is ignorant. Everybody. Boog is like extra ignorant though, right? This is my little cousin. He don't give a fuck. The rules don't apply to nothing he do. Nothing.
That's a fact.
Nothing he does. You understand me? So the police pull us over. They pull us over. We around the house too, so we cool. We just smoked all the weed, so we ain't got nothing on us. You know, and in my mind, I don't think we got nothing on us. But we definitely high as hell. So they pull us over. They really just.
What's the type to be dead wrong and still go off on the police?
Oh, he gonna go all the way in.
Like
he
you
don't give a shit.
red-handed and wrong, he's still going off.
He don't give a shit.
Fuck y'all pulling us over for?
And
Sir,
and
there's 17 keys falling out the door. What are you talking about?
So they pull us over, G, and they know we high as hell, right? I can't even hear half the shit they saying because I can't even interpret what you're talking about at this point. Now it's just me and Boog out the car. Fonz is in the back.
Okay.
They ain't make Fonz get out. This is important because Fonz is the sneaky one of the group, right? So even when I mean sneaky, like we'll go smoke, but Fonz will still have another dime and we won't get to smoke the dime because he'll keep that shit to himself. So this becomes important in regards to like the line of questioning that they start to give our ass. So first of all, man, they going through Boog, they go through all our shit. I actually had a license at this point, you know what I mean? So they go through bullshit. He has a fake ID, right? We about at best 16, 17. Will got a fake ID, and they was like, "Who is this nigga?" He was like, "That's for me and the hoes. I get in the clubs with the hoes." this is legitimately how he talking to the police. I need it for the hoes. So these bars, stop making us sing Christmas carols, right? We on 95th and probably
fucking with
Indiana.
y'all.
They just fucking with us at this point. Right, but
at least now you know you're probably gonna get out.
No, I don't know, because they're assholes. Now, be clear.
They make you sing it still
loud.
like
They
you're
do this kind of shit. Be loud. I want everybody on the block to hear you. So we're hollering.
Side.
That's the go-to song.
What song?
We're
Jingle
hollering
bell.
this shit, right?
Jingle bells. That's the go-to
That's the
song.
what?
Yeah, we're here. We're singing this shit.
I thought they was gonna make y'all sing Fat East Side in the
They were just
bathroom.
making us sing all kind of dumbass shit. So they're like, any weed in the car? I was like, man, I don't know what you talking about. I don't nobody here smoke no weed. High as a kite.
Right.
Then I thought about it. I said, Fonz is in that motherfucking car. You don't know what the fuck is in that car. So these motherfuckers was like, hey, if we find some weed in that car, we going to impound the whole car. Now, like, nigga, I would rather go to jail myself than you fuck with my sister shit.
Right.
I can deal with me being
Right, I can handle it.
I can handle it. But when you start messing with other people's shit, it's a bigger problem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, nah, man, don't nobody in here smoke. But as they said that, first we got our arms on the car like this, right? So as they said that, I'm looking at Fonz like, anything in the car?
All right. What they finna
At least
find,
hide
man?
it, motherfucker. Let's
sure
make
he
this
knew
easy.
exactly what you meant, too.
Anything in the car? I don't know. Anyway, long story short, man, they let us go, man. But we was
Stuff was in the car, Frank.
yeah, we going to my grandmama's house after we done got pulled over by the police, high as hell. My auntie was like, I know where y'all been. I know what you been doing. You high as hell. But she didn't know that about the police. It was just funny.
I'm like, dang, grandma's be getting the word. Somebody done called her. They got your boys and them over there pulled over.
That's true, man. It was funny, though. It was you know, them stories is funny, man. It's good times. You remember.
Jules, you almost been to jail before?
No.
Jules, put people in jail, man. What you talking about?
Hey,
I got fuzzy
She ain't
cuffs,
start that way.
But anyway.
you got what? Fuzzy cuffs.
Never mind. I'm just kidding.
Nah, do tell. Do tell about these fuzzy cuffs, Jules. Come on.
Hurry, pick that up real quick. Say what now?
Hey, I've only seen fuzzy cuffs in one environment.
Anyway, what are we doing today?
Talking about fuzzy cuffs. What you be doing with the fuzzy cuffs?
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes, and I'm the inquirer.
Anyway. There's nothing wrong with using fuzzy cups, okay?
I didn't
I'm
say
just
there's anything
saying.
wrong with it. I'm asking you, what do you do with them?
Crickets.
See how
I'm
y'all
with
act?
this relationship right there.
See how y'all act? See how y'all act? Anyhow,
Ron was a sound effect.
right.
After he had us on the soil. Go ahead, Ron. Catching up and shit.
Look, y'all don't. You back on Is Wiz.
It's crickets on the soil. Always. Weed Chronicles from the Is with past. Good stuff. King Salim. Honor and respect, King.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Anyhow, This is a relationship Friday, y'all, right? And so there are some things that we want to get into. I sent you a video, right? And if we could pull it up real quick, I kind of want to just discuss it before we get into the meat of the conversation that we really want to have in the 2 o'clock hour. There's a couple of things that I think would be just cool just to look at right quick. One featuring the Vice President of the United States of America on a Relationship Friday. She's going to make an appearance here, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know if y'all know y'all VP. There's a couple of things in this particular way. I don't know if y'all know the VP in this particular fashion that we about to see her in. But if you can pull, I don't got your computer over here though too. She wasn't always
Yes, she was.
she wasn't always so presidential.
You was who you was for you guys.
But you got here.
Look over see if it's on there now, Herb.
Money and position tends to amplify, so it might not be in the public eye, but it might be just
Yeah,
a
it's
little
like,
bit more.
Yeah, they say like money and fame don't change you. It exposes who you actually are, right? Yeah. It ain't really changing nothing. So maybe we get that up here in a second or not. But
You got my computer over there?
I don't have it over here.
I done did it 3 different times. Maybe we can't rock over here.
Maybe this ain't the day for that. You know, maybe we can't get into that.
But you know what's interesting? Like we have all these,
I'll just tell y'all what it is. Go ahead.
but we have all these different, I guess, aspects of us that are not always out in the public. But I think it's important that we own all that stuff because it's a part of who you are. Just like your Zoofields from last week, you know, them being all of who they are, got a chance to show up authentically, so forth. And so there are components that you get used to seeing a certain part of somebody and you think that's who they are.
Yeah.
And that's not it. Or
So-
at least there's more to it than that.
So you saying we should just like live out loud a little bit?
I'm in agreement with that. But
So what you do with fuzzy cups?
okay, that's a conversation for another day.
Oh.
We could talk about the fuzzy cuffs.
Oh, there's a
if you
relationship
wish.
Friday. You know?
But even when you do live out loud,
But everything, like there's a difference between transparency and full disclosure. So transparency, yes. Full disclosure, maybe not all the time. But go ahead. Even when you live out loud.
even when you
searching.
live out loud, though, like people are multifaceted, right? So
Sure.
I say this all the time. Depending on who you talk to about me, you'll get different variations of who I am as a person. You know what I mean? Like my wife knows me as one person. I was just laughing about Boog and Fonz, and they know me as another person. And then, you know, people who see me, I was just thinking about this today. Like when you think about us doing what's in it for the black people media, right? These people ain't never seen me without long hair. And this is a new thing.
All right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it becomes who your brand is, and it's really not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I'm multifaceted. We are multifaceted, but
Yeah.
black life is different, and even in that sense, I think though, right? Because black life tends to operate in extremes, right? Like we were just talking about being in the bathroom for peace of mind. That's because it's crowded, and you got to do certain. You got to go to extremes to get the minimum levels of peace, the minimum levels of profit, the minimum levels of whatever it is you're seeking for. So, you know, it's funny. Tiger always, when we go into stories, she's like, story time with two. Like it becomes a point of validation.
Yeah.
And it sounds wild, but for me, this was like, this is how everybody was living. You know what I mean? It just was the norm in our communities. But most of us don't see it that way.
Right.
You know, and then when we get, another thing I noticed too, Black Life too, great example of, and I don't know if you had this experience, Jules, you go to college?
I did, but I was going to come to something. I'll let you finish sharing, but I like
When I went to college, and this is a state school, right? All the black kids there was like, we from Chicago. But when you dig deep into that, 99% of the black kids really wasn't from Chicago. It was like from
Lansing.
surrounding suburbs and adjoining suburbs, which means they was coming from some kind of upward mobility. It was really like 3-4 kids on the campus that was legitimately from the city limits. You know what I mean? So just think about that, just even in the scope of growing, right? That Lansing, that South Holland, that northern suburbs, that's really
That's a different
difference.
thing. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally different
Like your
experience.
experience was nothing like my experiences.
From Waukegan.
You know what I mean? But what that says is, at least to me, specifically this being a state school, it's not set up. And Chicago being what Chicago is, most of us don't really rise past the barriers that they set for us. Right?
Yeah.
So when you come from
Barriers are
below that
effective.
barrier to get somewhere else, even just a half a step outside that barrier, you're a fucking anomaly.
Barriers are effective.
you're an anomaly, right? And you take one step back over that barrier, and everybody, this is normal to everybody.
Yeah.
But on this side of the road,
There's a couple of y'all. How you niggas get over here?
like you did that, you did what? Oh, you're wow, Jesus. But in my community, I'm the reserved one.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just interesting to look at it like that from that perspective.
It's funny because in most of my spaces, I'm like a go-to. Like, hey, can you help me figure out how to write this paper or whatever else? But I always share with people because I don't want them to be delusional about who I am. In high school, I would walk in the front door and out the back. I dropped out. I didn't graduate, GED. But
Really?
people's experience of me, it was like, that doesn't fit.
Yeah,
But
I would never get that.
Yeah. I went to Hyde Park High School. There
Wouldn't have got the fuzzy cuffs either, though. So go ahead. I don't know you at all.
Right.
My name's Herb. What's your name?
That's so interesting because I thought about this week. Sometimes we come across people and we call ourselves loving and caring about them, but we don't even know who that person is. I had an issue with my ex-husband and my daughter. I was like, wow, that man never knew me. I had to get out of that, that situation. So, but yeah.
That's real.
There was a liquor store right behind Hyde Park High School that I would stop at on my way home. So
There was a liquor store behind Hyde Park that you would stop at on your way home and get
yes,
liquor.
in the middle of the day. I got
And they'd
good-
serve it to you? They'd sell it to you?
Oh yeah, but see, never mind.
No,
I ain't
come-
gonna bust out the store, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
But it was interesting because a part of that for me, you said about your cousin being sneaky, like I was that person. I had to figure out when I got the calls at the house, like, okay, how am I gonna figure this out? So I'm not
Right.
getting the calls at the house because that was when the machine would call the house and say,
Right.
hey, your kid wasn't at school. No,
Right.
Mom, I was there.
They
Well, I
tripping.
need your teacher to sign off on this piece of paper every time you go to school. So I went the first day, got their signature, and,
And
for
copied it.
forever.
I had to
Forced
do that too. They did me like that too. I had to come home with a sheet of paper saying I was in their class.
Yeah.
I signed that for a year.
My the head football coach at Whitney Young was also the attendance coordinator, and so he was the like even if you cut class, he was the person who came and gave you your detention slips. Right? Oh, you cut fourth period today, detention slips. Like, oh fuck. So everybody hated to see him coming anyway. Plus nobody really liked him. But anyway, so there wasn't even an option for me to do this, like go to school and then just leave school. Like my coach was, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't really an option. But that's y'all some heathens.
No, we're people, and so that's part of it. Like we have to embrace all of who
Heathen people. I ain't
all
say
of
y'all
who
wasn't people.
are, and let it show up for what it is.
For
and
sure.
be
Ron,
okay
you
with
went to
it.
school?
Of course, man.
Of course.
Nah, but I was cutting school in grammar school.
You were cut
we
to
were
do
ditch-
what?
Me
We
too.
were ditching in grammar school.
To do what?
Just to
Go
smoke
downtown
black,
and steal.
smoke black and miles.
Smoke black and mouse.
I was smoking blacks at grammar school.
Really?
Interesting.
That explains a lot.
Wow. So a lot of stuff I stopped doing in high school just because I had already done it so young.
Black and
That's
mouse.
my
And that's
experience too, though.
interesting,
That's
right.
my experience too. Like when it got fun for everybody else, I'd already done it all.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I thought I was
Jumped
really
off the porch
getting
when you
high,
was
though.
7.
I
we
jumped
was
out the
really-
porch at 7.
We was really buying like boxes of black and miles and going to the park and smoking and buying munchies. Like we was actually getting high for that.
Shit, you can't get high off black. Them things strong as hell. If I smoke a black right now, I get the biggest headache ever. Like I can't. That shit. That's
If I
death.
stayed on my trajectory, G, by the time the average people in my peer group started smoking weed, I probably would have been planning bank robberies. Like I was,
Right.
we was doing other shit.
It was moving fast out here.
Something
y'all a little
else.
bit behind the
It was
curve,
mo- it was
my
moving
nigga.
fast out
Y'all- Yeah, catch up, nigga.
I definitely didn't smoke weed in high school. I was over it.
No, I didn't
I
smoke
still never
weed.
touched the stuff though. Like
No, you
that-
never smoked weed?
Never.
Yeah. I didn't smoke weed until my sophomore year in college. I didn't smoke weed in high school. I started drinking probably, I don't know, the first time it was an option. So if that was like 13 or 15 or 9, I don't know.
got you beat.
On drinking? Clearly.
We were like 6 and 7. Like they would let us have coolers in the family.
Yeah, so I was the kid who, yeah, you could get you a little wine cooler. Yeah. I was the kid, like, at the family function who, you know, I go outside and play and climb the trees and all that. But eventually, I'm going to tip back in the crib, go downstairs where the uncles is busting cards and playing spades and bid and dominoes. And I'm sitting right here. And they'll let me sit there. And they were the first people to tell me that I had an old soul. I didn't know what that meant at the time, right? I've come to know it to be very, very true about me. But it was true then, too. Like, I just wanted to sit right here. And I knew enough not to say too much. But if I sat there long enough, they'd be like, go and give me a beer. You know what I'm saying? Hey, go fix me a drink. Pour me some of that, whatever. You want some?
Innocent. Like,
Go ahead, take you a sip.
Maybe I'll try.
Sip. Mama come down. Why y'all got my baby downstairs? He all right. Go ahead. Go on back upstairs. He all right.
That's the value of those uncles.
I'm chilling with them for hours. Then I go back outside and play. Where you been at? Shit, I've been downstairs with Uncle Claude, Uncle Roddy, and them. Like, I'm downstairs. Like, I don't know.
At this point, you buzz now.
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Okay, I'm like 9, like 9 off a sip of Jack. Just
Do we still do that, like as family?
no.
With such
Two talks about that all the time. We can't afford it.
It's a
We can't
remnant of
afford it?
poverty. We can't afford to gather like that. It's a remnant of poverty, right? Think about
Could we
that. Just-
afford it then? Like,
Yeah.
don't we always find
Clearly.
a way?
I
Is it a poverty
think
thing?
we again that generation is special though, right? We don't give that generation its just due credit. That boomer generation was really the only generation of African Americans that really solidified and made some real profit. Sadiq, my brother, we were just talking about
we
you.
was just talking about you. We said we're gonna have to pop up on a Tuesday, Thursday. We miss seeing y'all.
Pop
man.
up on a Tuesday.
And you pop up on us. What's going on, my brother?
Yeah, man.
But yeah, no, that's a real
But
thing.
that's real. So the boomer generation was the only real generation to make some real capital. So it sounds mundane, but you think about it, just like her was talking about the card game or chilling, sitting, drinking. Who bought the alcohol? You
I
know
can
what
remember
mean?
the
Who-
food.
just
right?
the
my,
food,
My
all
Uncle Ronald
that.
used to, first he was a big dude, but he was a master grill man. He would sit at his barrel grill, and I mean sit there, right? With a chair at the grill, and just boom. And when he lifted that thing up, you couldn't even see him no more. Like the smoke would just engulf him, and he'd just sit there and grill. And it was always so much fun. I'm talking 40, 50 people over here. Big ass people. You know what I'm saying? And a bunch of kids and everybody else. And when you leave,
You live with a plate.
it's gonna be hella food to take with you. And it was just so much food. Like understanding that now as an adult, $1,000 worth of meat, just the meat, easy.
Right.
Like,
When your grandmama did Thanksgiving, it wasn't potluck, really.
No.
Grandma did Thanksgiving.
yeah.
She did.
You know what I'm saying? Grandma did Thanksgiving. That we can't afford that, and because we can't afford that, and because of the social trajectory and maybe even the embarrassment at some levels that we not just digging deep enough to acknowledge, we start to create terminologies and themes around, family ain't even family, or you can't trust family, or the family starts to break apart in different ways, right? But that's really where those bonds of family are birthed and grown. Like all my relationships
Cultivated.
with my cousins came through holidays and sleepovers, and you know what I mean?
My cousins were
Facts.
terrible.
Yeah, so we don't. But if we ain't getting those interactions, then yeah, you just another dude in the street because I don't know you.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
It's a very, very real thing that we don't have those types of things anymore. Even when I think back about like those homes, like the places that we used to do that at, right?
True.
There was about 2 or 3 places that we used to do that at. None of those properties are in my family anymore, right? Those people have passed, and the children like refinanced it and messed it up, or they sold it, or something, right? But these are like iconic, like staple places in my family for me growing up, and none of those places are in our family anymore. And I think that is one of the great tragedies of our community is the spaces that we lose or forfeit or whatever over time, because like those things kept us grounded. And Rudy, you talk about the house that your grandfather got, right? And how many generations of y'all have come through that house as an anchoring
It was
point.
an anchoring point. Yeah, without that house, man, shit, who knows what would happen to my family?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And relationships get built in that space. Like, I don't even know that we like each other like that we want to spend time with the family if
Yeah.
we did have the money, because we weren't forced to cultivate it at a younger age.
Yeah.
So now that we're older, we're like, yeah, I
Yeah.
love you all, but I don't necessarily need to be with you all.
It's definitely different. It's definitely a different situation. I'm not even sure that anybody's capable of doing it financially or practically, like skillfully. I don't know that nobody, like,
I'll say this about my family, man. Shout out to my aunt to it. So my dad is the oldest. My aunt's the youngest, right? And there's a huge age gap. So in a lot of ways, she looked at my father like her father.
Right.
In a lot of ways, even though she's my aunt, it's almost like an older
Sibling,
sister,
right.
You know what I mean? But she was also reared in that kind of a traditional household. So my auntie could throw down. And in that, her daughters can throw down. So in regards to capacity, we got the capacity.
Okay.
And we still do it right at some levels. And I think my family's
Yeah.
an
Same here. A little
anomaly a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And really, we just like each other, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what y'all on? I'm on my way over there just because we like each other.
But didn't you all cultivate that in the earlier years?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
But it got cultivated in my grandmama's house. That was ground zero for everything. I think Don was talking about it earlier about the flop house. I wouldn't say my grandmama's house was the flop house, but it was the anchoring for all of our family. Friday, just because it
Grand
was
Central.
Friday, So my grandmother lived 4 blocks from me. So I spent my time in the house anyway.
Right.
You know, but I go over there Friday and randomly, 2, 3 of my uncles will be there, and it's just it's somebody
cousins.
always
Yeah,
there.
somebody always
You know what
there.
I mean, it's always there.
Now, are your children having that experience as well, or
Not at all. Not at all. But that would be their great aunt, one, right? And they look at her as their aunt. So they have the experience. That's the closest they have to it, but it's not the same. Their paternal, maternal grandmother lives in Kankakee, so that don't happen. And both of their paternal grandparents are dead. So it's not an option. It's not accessible.
and then there's nobody from this generation that's kind of cultivating it to pass on to
Not
them.
in the same way.
Not in that way.
Not in the
That's
same
like me and my cousins are like my first cousins. We tight. Like my cousin Danielle, my cousin Eric, we are all still real tight. But it's not like we putting together stuff like they was putting together. Even if we get together, it might be 10 of us. You know what I'm saying? With their kids or whatever. 10, 12 of us to get together. But I'm talking about 50 people getting together at my Aunt Beth's house or my Uncle Ron's house or my Uncle Claude's house, and everybody being there. And that's when you see your second cousins, 3, 4, 5 times a year over there. You know what I'm saying? And that's just not happening anymore.
And even so, it sounds like that was something you all cultivated when you were young again. So are their children taking
the cousins I'm closest to? We got baby pictures in the tub all together. You know what I'm saying? That kind of it been like that. You know what I mean? And so and we get together, and I love to grill, so I can grill, but I don't know how to make mac and cheese for real. You know what I'm saying? I can make spaghetti, but it won't be like my OG spaghetti. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the type of things I'm saying. I don't even know if
My family still does it. But again, my grandmother was one of 16.
Okay.
Right? So
that's a lot.
And she was the second oldest of the 16. So my father got aunts and uncles just younger than him. You know what I mean? And we all operated as first cousins or first family. It wasn't no distance between, this is my second cousin. It wasn't like that. So Thanksgiving could be, like Herb said, 100 people easy.
Yeah, for sure.
Easy to do them numbers. You know what I mean? So we don't move that way no more.
Yeah.
And there's few of us that keep those kind of relationships open. I talk about going to the gardens all the time. Them was my second cousins. I forced my children. Now I won't even say force because my children love the gardens at this point. They think that's home. But I made
At this point, but you exposed them to that repeatedly.
I had to repeatedly expose them to the gardens, and I did that on purpose. You know what I mean? I want them to have that experience because I think that kind of a living is going away from Chicago, and I think it's valuable.
Yeah.
So I exposed them to that. But again, my wife is from out of town, so that connectivity is not the same. But it don't go both ways. It's just interesting, man. It's just interesting, and like Herb said too, it's we ain't doing no breaks. GD or nothing.
You heard?
You know what I mean?
Get down and lay down to the world blow up.
But
we have to take a break though.
we need to. But yeah, my children just, and they love their family for sure.
Course.
They do have a relationship with their family. I'm rooted in family, so they make sure of that. But it's different, and even also culturally, there's a difference between me and my wife and how she deals with her family and how I deal with my family. So that's always interesting to see too.
Cool. Let's pause it right there. Let's take a quick break. When we come back from break, I will still tell y'all what it is. I want to tell y'all that I saw
I just want
Vice
to say
President.
real quick before you go to break,
Go ahead.
in this camera, I'm draping. It looks like my shit down to my shoulders around this motherfucker.
Sometimes your light skin just come all the way out.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
I'm draping around this.
when your light skin come out the most?
No.
In your fucking car. I can't stand seeing your damn car selfies.
Oh, don't be a hater.
I'm not a hater.
What am I missing? Where do we find these selfies at?
This fucking guy on Instagram or Facebook just in his car just
He's such a hater.
and then he put some dumbass deep
It's not
caption on it.
Obviously, you've been reading.
Yeah, because I can fucking read.
Whatever I have is obviously appealing.
It is appealing. 'Cause I actually got a call about it. Oh, look at Toussaint selfie. I'm like,
I hear call nigga.
You just called to tell me look at Toussaint selfie? That's
I said hello.
That's kind of weird. But anyway, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, hopefully he'll be a shade or two darker. Since I said what I said, Jules is here on Relationship Friday. Ron Rilla is in the production studio. My name is Herb. We'll be here till 3.
WIIFTBP. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me. Media's just for you and me.
Reach the ruler. This is Week Ho Wednesday, and to my right is Everybody's Women Crush Wednesday. My co-host, the one and only Toy. It goes. Love this show, y'all. I'm dealing with a guy. We have been dating for 9 months. In light of everything going on in the world, he has been voicing his opinion about situations, and I don't agree with any of his views. I love everything else except his opinions.
Damn.
How do I fix this? FYI, he's white.
It's about to be a white boy summer.
So could that be the issue?
For sure. Just come out different when it's not coming from your own race. It's just never been something I'd be like, oh, I date Bill.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill.
I don't really like light-skinned guys. I don't like pink
Yeah,
meat.
pink. So like it's like you see it.
Pink tip. It be pink.
And then pink on
Yeah,
the
I
tip.
don't like.
So sometimes a light skinned guy have a dark tooth.
And then it look dirty,
And you
so it's
can-
nice off to me.
okay,
I
so
feel
now
like
you-
it's supposed to be pink because they light skinned. You know what I'm saying?
but
But I don't
because it's
want it
not-
to be dark
because
because then
it's
I'm
not.
gonna say you dirty.
The Chicago Legal Network is the collaboration of attorneys that concentrate in many areas of the law most needed in Chicago neighborhoods. The CLN lawyers focus on personal injury, criminal defense, and other issues. The CLN lawyers all average over 20 years of legal experience and are dedicated to helping the Chicago community. The Chicago Legal Network is committed to developing black lawyers through mentorship and co-representation. So if you were injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or injured on the job, or you need assistance with criminal defense, including driving violations and DUI, check out ChicagoLegalNetwork.com for more information or call 773-912-3545. 773-912-3545.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the green side of things. It's your man, Sadiq.
And Cassiopeia.
And we need you to like,
Comment.
and share
That thing.
every Tuesday and Thursday from 1
To 3 p.m. on
What's in it for the Black People Media.
Hey, I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. I pray we don't get lost in all our sorrow. I say I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. We don't know if we gon' let us see tomorrow. No. 52 wounded, 10 murdered in a weekend. Homicides on women are increasing. 12 looking at us for no reason. Feel like we going off the deep end. They still ain't found Kiara Cole. Reported missing about a year ago. And she was pregnant with a little one. Her family praying for a miracle. Tax TV and Kanika ain't get no justice. Where the energy they have for Jussie Smollett? I done heard every theory, but where the suspects? Ain't no luck, yeah. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. I pray we don't get lost in all our sorrow. I say I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. We don't know if we gon' let us see tomorrow. No. Woman found dead, baby cut out of a womb. I wish it wasn't true. Another woman shot down while her baby in her arms. Can somebody call a truce? This is genocide, honestly. We still remember Tyshawn Lee. I'm implementing new policies, trying to save the generation under me. We gotta drop the sticks and put the poles up. Your man is a weapon, you need to load up. I couldn't imagine losing one of my daughters.
Shoot, I wanna glow up. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. I pray we don't get lost in all our sorrow. I say I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying Chicago. We don't know if we gon' live to see tomorrow. No.
Welcome back, family. We are live from inside the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Werner. My name is Herb Howard. This is I Said What I Said on a Relationship Friday, and Juliet Scott is in the studio. Absolutely thrilled to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much, brother. So happy to be here.
Indeed. Started the show off talking about Toussaint's criminal excursions.
The Weed Chronicles with Herb.
That guy. But then we kind of got into this relationship conversation in terms of like family relationships, what those things look like, what they used to look like, and how they've kind of evolved over time and become less substantive. Is that what I want to say? Yeah. And, you know, talked about some ways for how we got there and potentially maybe how to fix it. But I told y'all that I came across this video of Kamala Harris, and I can't show it to y'all today because Ron is here. But I'll tell y'all what it was.
Silence yourself.
Montel Williams, former talk show host. Y'all remember Montel Williams?
Yes.
He was showing up to some event. He had two ladies on his arm, one on this side, and Kamala on this side.
One
Video
was a
holder.
super busser.
Yes.
Which one was that?
Kamala. Kamala.
He at least introduced it, though. That was classy of him.
Yeah. You know,
Classy.
hey.
It's my favorite.
And
KK.
I am Montel Williams, and
And I
these
am.
are my hoes.
These is my hoes. Man, look at the ground, ladies.
Montel Williams was like the hottest talk show out at some point, man.
Yeah, he definitely had it on the stroll. Look like
Him and like
it was an interest. Matter of fact, what was that award show? Was it Snoop came in with the ladies on the dog chain? Was it the MTV Awards? And he got in trouble for that.
Oh, I kind of remember that.
'Cause he
I had
came
almost
in-
forgot about that, but yeah,
Snoop came in with a group of women on dog
it
chains.
was kind of like that though.
But he got in trouble by like the feminist Nazi. I want to say the feminist Nazis, but the feminist fraction. Let's say them. It looked like that with
The
Montel.
feminazi.
The feminazi. It looked like that with Montel Griffin. Was it Griffin?
Williams.
Mm-hmm. And Kamala Harris. It was a very interesting look for her.
It was a very, very interesting look. Y'all can Google it. It's there. But I thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting to see on that particular front, considering that she's the VP now.
You know, I think when you're a public figure,
Not that I think that should exclude her,
Right.
But, you know,
but I feel like it's important to let your stuff be out there so nobody could use it against you. Like,
I
you be
think
the
that if
one
she
to
want,
put
I
it
think
out
that if she
there.
could, she would rather that not be out.
I know, but there's no hiding it. So people come up with stuff from everywhere. Put your own stuff out there and have control of what that narrative look like.
I'm with that. So this is what I gotta ask.
Yes.
Right? If you can't hide it, because we know government fractions, right? We know how they vet people, right? Police, for example, and that's the lowest rung probably of the government fractions, right? I got a lot of partners who's tried to become police, and they use me as a resource. And just as the resource, the phone calls that I get from the police, I be like, man, I got to call my partners. Otherwise, like, did I say the right shit? Because they'd be asking you like very in-depth questions. You know what I mean? Like, how well do you know this guy? I got to assume that process is like 1,000-fold for somebody trying to be the VP, right?
Right.
And with that being said, where's Obama's past?
Non-existent.
Like, think about this. The first black president in the history of America, handsome dude.
He went from Hawaii to
It
Kansas
ain't
to Chicago
one
to the
woman out
White
here
House.
that say, hey, I fuck dude.
Right.
Ever?
She's dead.
We don't question like that.
She's
ever?
dead. She's dead.
Or maybe there's no women out there, maybe some guys.
They're definitely dead.
Interesting.
Nobody thinks about that. Like,
No, we've had that conversation before.
We know women Trey Songz that slept with. We ain't gonna know who Obama nailed.
Dog,
You think that NDA is that strong?
you host this show. Some woman somewhere be like, yo, in 94,
I let him beat these cats.
you know what I'm saying? This man's the most powerful man in the world, and not one woman from his past was like,
He beat these cakes. I let Obama bake.
right, Obama the baker,
Was that any damage control or
Barack
is
O'Baker,
Barack O'Baker.
glaze my donuts.
He definitely glazed me.
I can't with at you guys.
Yeah, that is interesting though.
You don't think his team, whoever reached out, here's your money, shut up? Like,
We're saying they did something to silence these women.
Right.
Yeah, but how strong could that be though? This is Obama. This is next to Jesus.
I'm saying they killed those people.
Yeah, I just struggle with that NDA.
We'll try to pay you off first. If that does not work, we'll kill you.
It's deeper than that to me. I don't even think payoff is possible. Think about the money you could make being Obama's mistress. And I don't even want to say mistress, just his first girlfriend. Think about who you could be in the public sphere. That's talk shows, that's movies, that's book deals, that's
a lot.
We know about Beyonce's boyfriend before she got with Jay.
That's just Jay-Z.
Right.
Imagine what that would look like for anybody in the trajectory of Obama's past.
Curiouser and curiouser.
You know what I mean? Who was the man? Who did he deal with at Harvard? Was he asexual at Harvard?
Ain't hit nobody in Kansas.
We know about him trying cocaine in Hawaii, but don't know about no woman in his past ever.
Interestingly enough, there was the one guy that came out and said, I used to date Michelle. So, like,
I
where's...
was about to say Obama.
No. I don't know.
I'm just saying.
Well, where are his past?
I just think it's interesting.
Michelle went to Whitney Young. They was dating and other things.
I just think it's interesting. But either way, though, it's Relationship Friday, and I don't think we did spend too much of time on relationships at all.
But it's all been about relationship.
Well, I guess
Family
you're
is
right.
relationship.
I guess you're
like,
right.
And cultivating that connection one to another. is
True,
relationship.
true.
And being all of who we are is relationship. And so we talked about that as well.
That's true. That's true. But intimate relationship.
Off air before we got on air.
Yes.
You were introducing a conversation. If you don't want to have that conversation on air, that is perfectly fine.
No, we can have that conversation on air. It's important. So,
Okay, well, you introduce it.
Yeah, I've been struggling with how to introduce it myself.
well, one of the things came up in family. You were down in the basement with the uncles hanging out, and it wasn't a lot of uncles in my family. It was a bunch of women. I got married pretty fast. And when I got married,
How old?
Geez, let me think. I think I was 22.
How long have y'all been together? A few weeks?
Yep.
Literally. Okay.
So we met, fell madly in love, and I think we were married inside of maybe 4 weeks, maybe 6,
Really?
something like that.
Wow, Jules, that's aggressive.
Hey, that is.
You know what?
That is
the first
premium
thing
box.
Yes.
That is premium box right
He
there.
definitely baked a cake. You understand me?
You hear me?
This was Bob the Baker.
Shooting the club up.
And when we met, I had a 1-year-old. And so,
amazing.
I already had a kid. And
He's
so,
like, let me get you an Irish twin right quick.
Instead of Irish twin.
and so, and it's interesting because I remember when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was like, man, I don't even know this man very well. So let him know before he goes, because he was military, before he goes, like, this kid is your kid. So that's how real it was. Like, it was a real thing that we had not been together very long. Mm-hmm. But either way, we talked last week about how men show up and, whether or not they get involved in a child's life. And with my ex-husband, that was certainly the case. Like, he and my son had this phenomenal relationship. They spent a lot of time together, and I had nothing to do with it. They go to the park. They'd stay up and play games late at night. They drove me nuts. But that was the only dad my kid knew for all of his life. Mm-hmm. So let's fast forward. Let's say about 5 years, and I came to a point where I didn't want to be married to my husband anymore. Mm-hmm. And the marriage ended, and my son was angry about that. He blamed me for that, and I went through a period of, I guess, mourning behind that and grieving, and it took about 3 or 4 years for me to get out of it. But when I finally got out of it, I started to date, and I introduced men into my children's life. I don't care what Steve Harvey says, don't do it. Like, unless you're, like, the day before you're about to walk down the aisle, leave the other man out of your children's life. Your children will always be there. Sometimes the man won't, and the kid ends up angry. My son was already angry, and he got angrier. And I was looking for a dad for them. Like, I was not looking for, like, I need a man in my life. That wasn't me. Because I could do that by myself outside of the purview of my kids. But there were like 3 different times where a man showed up and said, no, I want to be a part of this family. Mm-hmm. And so they became a part of our lives. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, as time moved forward, and my son was already having some other issues, it got to a point where it was like a brick wall. And he ended up leaving the house and has not spoken to me in, let's see, he's 24 now. He left at 17, 7 years. And so 2 things showed up for me since the last show. The young lady said, I'm messing up my kid. And I had that moment this week. Like, I did everything I could do. I did what I knew to do at the time. I thought I was doing the right thing, but it never dawned on me that I was enough. As a parent, like just being a single parent. I grew up in an environment, even though my mom and dad divorced, he was still there. I grew up in a neighborhood where all the dads were still there, so I thought I had to have this for my kid. And in the interim, that got screwed up. Like my son was traumatized, and I didn't realize till we were on the other platform. At 17, the brain is not fully developed. And when you expose that child to trauma, during that developmental stage, it delays things even further. So just thinking about that this week, as well as the young lady from the Iswiz show, the video we watched, like, I can't go back and change it, but I share because there are other single moms having this experience, and they might have angry sons that might be shooting up the block because they don't know what else to do with their anger. My son left and went to the Army. And I feel like, okay, well, maybe I did something right because he had some type of foundation that says, I'm going to go do something. And when he was younger, we go out, I always get compliments on my kid. Is that your kid? He's so mannerable. He's so this, he's so that. So I feel like I did some things right, but that thing that I did wrong was like so wrong and so damaging that I advocate against making that decision.
You know, that's a when you said that you were actively seeking a father for them, I could see how that could go awry. You know what I mean? Not so much just kind of living and, you know, if I meet somebody, cool, we take it slow, whatever. It's like, no, I'm looking for someone to be a father to my children.
Yes.
And I think that can be a flawed way of going
absolutely.
about it. You know
I'm
what I
living
mean?
proof, absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know that it necessarily has to be, right? But I think more likely than not, probably.
I think that's, respectfully, I think that's kind of a surface view, too. I'm going to say this about you, Jules, because he's going to have his own journey, right? His father holds some weight in that as well.
That's not his biological father, so that's a whole nother element. He was already one when I met my husband, but that was the only father he knew.
Either way, both men hold weight in that conversation.
When you and your husband divorced, was that also the very end of his relationship with your son?
That man didn't talk to any of us for like 3 or 4 years. Like, we didn't even exist. I didn't exist. The children didn't exist. And again, I had a daughter with him. And so there was
wow. But I was going to say this too, man. No trauma is insignificant. And how that affects people, you just don't know.
Especially children.
And even just being there isn't necessarily the resolve. You know what I mean? Like, I had a very, very tumultuous, complicated relationship with my mama. And she was there every day. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because I had a strained relationship with my father up until I became a man. Up until the point I was in my mid-20s or something, then it just clicked. Like, damn, thank God for this nigga. You know what I mean? And it was an interesting dynamic between me and my dad. Like, early on, it was like, I can't stand this nigga. But at the same time, I admired the shit out of that man, right? But it was the lessons that he was teaching me and helping me or raising me to become a man. I just bucked that because it was hard work attached to that shit. Like, my friends, and this is, you know, I've told this before. Like, I grew up in a community where it's probably, of guys that I hung with, probably like 12 of us, I was the only one with a daddy. So the shit that I was experiencing was not like the stuff my peers was experiencing. Like, they didn't have no rules per se.
Structure.
No structure per se. I had, you know, I laugh and joke saying I jumped off the porch at 7, and that's true. But in order to jump off the porch, I had to first fix the house. You know what I mean? Like, you gonna do this first. So even when we just talking about the little criminal activities and all that shit beforehand, I was never into drugs like that. Like, that Christmas I was high, that was an anomaly. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't nothing else to do. But in regards to going to get some money, babe, whatever means, I was going to do that. But that was, in my mind, now that I look back on it, it was part of his rearing. He always was pushing me to hustle, always pushing me to work hard, always, you know, to be a man, you got to do. To be a man, you got to, you know, you got to have. You got to be able to stand on your own. And I think I laugh and joke with my son today because we're like opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, he was asking me that day, like, Dad, I need to get my hair cut. And I'm, nigga, you 15.
Right.
Why are you
Figure that
talking to me?
out.
You should have haircut money.
You know what I mean? But I tell him I was at my father's pocket probably by the time I was 10, 11. I didn't, and I had the Jordans, I had everything I wanted, but I was out of his pocket because by the time I was 10, 11, I'd already known how to hustle in some capacity. You know what I mean? Now I started to blur the lines with criminal shit, but the goal was to get to the goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, we had this kind of strained relationship. And I was thinking about this one time.
Did you decorate Trapper Keepers?
Nah, I didn't even go to school that much, bro. I didn't care about no damn trap.
I just knew somebody who could draw real good, and they would for a few bucks or whatever, they'll just draw on people's Trapper Keeper. And shit
I
like
wasn't
that.
in school like that. I was Juice. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
You came to school today?
You and Jews at the liquor store.
You remember the code? The code they see your locker? No, that was definitely me.
But I guess Aaliyah will beat his own path,
That's true.
But go ahead, please.
But part of the trauma that I look back at it or the hang up between me and my mama is, and this goes back into relationships, like we don't oftentimes see the problem as ourselves. We don't look at a relationship as a mirror. So my mother found refuge in disparaging my father in front of me. That ain't no shit that bode well.
Right.
Even though he get on my nerves, but I admire the shit out this man. And I know the inner workings of this house, at least from my vantage point.
Right.
Right? But as an adult, what I had to realize is, too, I don't know what trauma she came from.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this road is my road. I can't blame whatever I show up as on him or her. This is my journey, and I got to get there. You know what I mean? So, and they had a role to play in shaping my personality and all that. But again, when does the blaming start? Stop.
Right.
When you stop being a victim and start being a volunteer. It's just a journey you got to walk through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I always wanted that for my son, but he never got there. Like, I'm a whole person, and I don't know that he ever got to a point where she wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to help me. We did everything. I did counseling. We went through like 4 or 5 counselors from the time he was about 7 until the time he was about 17. I threw him in activities that I had nothing to do with. He did wrestling. I drove him everywhere he needed to go. But he had so much anger around his dad not being there, and he just couldn't, my ex-husband, and he just could not navigate around it, and we never came across the right person that could help him with that. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I could find somebody. It's not in this professional space. Maybe I could find somebody and that could change that for him. But I'm a person that it's rules. Like, my household has rules, and I had to move furniture with my son a couple of times. Like, you're not running it here, especially when he got into his high school year. So that was a whole nother challenge. And I had to be careful of that because I didn't want to emasculate him. I don't believe in hands in the face, especially with men, women. Sometimes we do all this and, F you and call men B's and all that. So I tried not to hit my son, but I remember slapping him a couple of times, and he couldn't do anything about it. Like, I kind of dared him to try it. I'm raising you. I'm taking care of you. I love you. And we did other things. We did fun things, but at the same point, nothing worked. He was suffering in school and not performing well and just not. I didn't know what to do, so I kept trying to fix it. I tried everything, and nothing fixed it. And in the process of me trying to fix it, it just got worse. And
I wonder, and I guess I'll ask you from your perspective on this as well. Like, you said I specifically tried not to emasculate him, right? And I wonder if that's even a possibility.
Interesting.
And I say that in this sense, like, I remember specifically, let's say, me hitting 13, 14 or something. And my mom was the kind of person that would slap the shit out you in public. That was her move. Right? She was like, wait till you I'm going to embarrass the shit out you. And it came to a point where I was like, that ain't happening no more. You know, and I remember the last time she tried to pull it, and I caught her hand, and I just said, don't do that. You know what I mean? Now, when my father got home, he beat the fuck out of me for grabbing her hand. You know what I mean? But my mother never raised a hand to me again either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not to say I didn't get my ass whipped no more.
Right.
It just didn't come from that direction.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think there's something unique about the dynamic of men. Right? And again, when I even I said this about my wife in football, like, no, man, you can't talk to him like that. It's something that makes me feel uneasy when she goes in on him. Not to say I won't do it, but I think the energy is just there. I even know he responds. He would rather me punch the shit out of him than his mama to talk to him a certain kind of way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think, as crazy as this sounds, even me punching the shit out of him resonates in a more respectful manner than his mama just talking to him at certain levels sometimes. So I wonder, again, back to that energy dynamic, or
Yeah.
you know, the masculine and the feminine. Like, is there even a possibility, specifically when you're seen as the dominant in that house,
Right.
the only energy in the house?
Yeah.
My son definitely recognizes his mama as a dominant figure, but he also recognizes that, all right, when this shit go too far, I'm going to get my daddy.
Yeah.
Or when she goes over the line, my daddy's going to correct some of this behavior.
And the thing about
I
it
wonder.
is, it's not just in what happened in my household. Like, it's still happening in households. So
Mm-hmm.
how do we fix that? How do we deal with that so we don't continue to see what we're seeing in our community?
I think that's why we have Relationship Friday discussions, because it's imperative that we figure out how to make sure that these relationships, the man and the woman, are healthy, because without it, there's an imbalance to raising those children, right? And I don't care how good of a single father you are or how good of a single mother you are, there's an imbalance there when you're talking about the development of those offspring. And I think that maybe nature plays a role in some of it, right? When you talk about the fact that here is a boy growing into manhood, his body's like changing, like naturally changing. Like his masculine energy is like building up inside of him, but he has nothing to really do with it, right? Like
Right.
the person who runs this household is a woman, right? And so as, you know, strict or whatever as you may be in running the household, there's still this natural feminine energy there.
Right.
And then when those things don't align up as they kind of are naturally supposed to line up, it creates a sense of confusion, right? It's like, I don't really, as a young boy, I don't know how to respond to this. My masculine energy is telling me, don't let nobody fucking talk to you like this,
Right.
or put their hands on you like this.
Right.
But everything else is telling me, that's my mama, she run this house, and
I
like,
can't.
now I'm fucking confused. You know what I mean? And then now I just kind of shrink.
Maybe it's that energy too is definitive of
Fight or flight.
the pecking order.
You know?
The pecking order per se, though, right? So it's one thing to be like, and it's just hypothetical, I don't know, theory, right? But I know I could whoop my mama's ass. Like,
Sure.
I knew that early on.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I also knew, and my daddy was a little man, but I also knew I couldn't whoop my daddy's ass.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the very inclination of men is like, I'm bound to, I say it all the time, the definitive of manhood is, can you whoop my ass, though?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I mean that in every capacity, not just fighting or physically. If you can't dominate me in something, then your rules don't really matter to me.
Right.
Period.
Right.
If I can win here, fuck your rule.
And that's anything.
That's anything.
You try to
anybody.
You try to tell, hey, Mike Vick, don't just drop back and run. Don't just, like, look and throw the ball. Yes, I hear what you're saying, but I score when I run.
Yeah, fuck you.
So can you do better than what I'm about to do? Fuck you.
Yeah, and it's not even a disrespectful thing.
No, it's just this
the-
works.
it's
You
the
can't
innate
beat me.
nature of us.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I wonder if that energy plays out in regards to women. And I also think, and I'm not saying you're doing this as well, but back to the power of the I think we confuse femininity and masculine energy with
With male and
gender,
female. Oh.
with male and female genitalia.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So when someone's like, "Oh, a woman could raise a boy," I think they're not really fully grasping the depths of what that energy, how that energy resonates.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We talk about shared experience in almost every other aspect of our society. But when we talk about parenting, very rarely do we reference shared experience as another reason why that balance is necessary, right? You've never been a man.
Never.
You know what I mean? And
I don't even pretend. Like, I think some of us kind of put on a bravado. Like,
Yeah.
we have to be masculine because we have to run it. And
even them, they've never been men.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can try that shit all you want, and that's fine. And you can do it to some level of effectiveness, right? But in terms of like really getting this boy to where he needs to be, how?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen a lot of people play soccer before. I generally know how the fucking game works. I ain't never played that shit. I can't teach nobody how to be no fucking soccer player. You know what I'm saying? I can go out there and fake it for a while, give me a whistle and roll the ball out there. We got to get that ball in that net all feet, okay? But
you might break all type of rules and mess it up.
I'm going to fuck them up. They're going to be terrible
Right.
soccer players.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And lose points because you don't know the rules to this game.
I think what part of it might be too, though, right? That nurture versus nature conversation. It's funny, man. I'm having a conversation with my daughter the other night. Right? She's irritated the shit out of me. It's 1 a.m. She ain't had school today, so she was just like, "I'm gonna bother the shit out of you till I'm tired of bothering the shit out of you." So we sit down. She's like, "Dad, let me tell the story." And I was like, "I don't want to hear the story, right?" But she just kept talking. I said, "Look, man, I got to go talk to your school because I figured this would get her ass about my face." I was like, "I got to go meet with your principal Monday because of your attendance." She was like, "Oh, I'm out of here." But then she was like, "No." Then I was like, she said something. She was like, "You didn't tell mama?" I said, "No, I ain't tell your mama." Right? She was like, "Whew, thank God." I remember I came in here with an attitude because her school called me the other day.
Right.
And they had tried to call my wife and couldn't get my wife. The only reason they called me. And they was like, "Well, where can we speak to Mrs. Werner?" I said, "You got me. We can handle this."
Right.
You know what I mean? And they was like, "No, well, we specifically want to speak to Miss Werner." Like they made
That's a little disrespectful.
put some emphasis on it. That's what I said. I felt I said, "Hold on, man. No, whatever has to we have to have a conversation about.
I'm her daddy.
I'm her parent."
Right. Was it a woman on the phone?
Yeah.
That's
I
interesting.
was like, "I'm her parent. We can have this right now." Now I'm egotistical. You ain't never talking to Miss Werner. You know what I'm saying?
She did. Let me tell it.
Tell me what it is. You know what I mean? So I'm explaining this to my daughter in this late night conversation, and she started smirking. I said, "What's funny?" She was like, "Well, they probably think Mom I handle it better."
Better.
Yeah. I said, "Oh, really?" So I said, "Now I want to hear what you got to say."
Better house, sweetie.
Better house, sweetie. So she was like, Dad. She was like, "Mom she's over the top." And I was like, "What's that mean?" She was like, Mom can be mean. I said, "Well, I can't be mean." She was like, "Well, you don't really."
To Eric,
Yes.
not to me.
Yes. It's minuscule what you're going to do. They don't think you'll get the job accomplished. Like, this is my daughter's perspective.
I'll be out of trouble in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
with
this
you.
is what it mean. This would be funny.
Just only a flesh wound.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Monty
it means
Python.
nothing.
Just only a flesh
Little
wound.
scrape.
And she's flat out telling me this. You know what I mean? And internally, I'm dying laughing because she's right.
She's right. She's 100% right.
It's not that big a deal, baby. You ain't got to go to school all the time.
I ain't never go.
I never go. But I'm laughing at that. But her mother is kind of the disciplinarian for her. It is. That's the standard. You know what I mean? And she seeks refuge in me for that empathy and that nourishment and whatever. Right? And it's a little bit different with my son. And maybe because he's older, maybe because of the relationship he shares with his mom, it's a whole bunch of differences. But I think that becomes the balance. Right? And you can't even get that other part from the other party possibly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially if they're not there, like, period.
Specifically if they're not there. But
Flat out
even just
not
the
there.
very design. Like, I've never, and I'm talking about very young, the day I met my daughter, now granted, the day I met my son too, it was nothing greater in the world. But the day I met my daughter, it was just different. It was just different. You know what I mean? It's a picture of me holding my baby when she was first born, and my cousin has a caption under the picture. And it's like, "Yes, Bella, whatever you want, Bella. I'll do it right now, Bella. Anything you say,
And
Bella."
it ain't changed.
And it ain't changed. And that was the moment I met her. And he could see it in
Only
my
thing
face.
that's changed is now she knows. She ain't knowing that picture.
Yeah, she probably did. It
But
didn't
she
take
know
long.
now.
You know what I mean? It didn't take long. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm saying, but that's just the natural inclination of the human spirit, specifically from those gender-specific roles. And not to say that I don't feel that same way about my son.
Of course.
But life is going to manage and treat him a certain kind of way, and you got to prepare for it in a certain kind of way.
Sure.
I don't never want life to hit my daughter in that kind of way.
Sure.
Right, I want a man that's gonna love her and view her in the way that I love her and view her, because he ain't got to be as soft as me at all. He can't be, because she'll run you. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I want him to be willing to do whatever's necessary to make sure once they form any kind of union or bond, that they can survive.
So one of the things that showed up for me, I wanted to prepare my son for the world. And that was...
If not, I know a good place we can bury the body. Don't even trip.
He's gonna have to be learned.
Chitty chitty bang bang.
You know what I mean?
It's just interesting what shows up when it's a single parent household, especially mother and son. I was having lunch with one of my girlfriends from work, and she was sharing with me, she came across journals that her son kept when he was young, and she called him crying because in the journal it was saying, "I'm not going to cry today when mommy cusses me out." Like, it's different when we are trying to raise our children in the way we it's kind of hurtful. Like, we're doing our best, but it kind of resonates differently despite our best effort.
Parenting don't come with no handbook, man. That's something that I heard my mother-in-law say a lot. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, parenting don't come with no handbook. Like, we doing the best we can, and are we making mistakes along the way? Hell yeah. It's a lot of trial and error with this shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was just fucking one day, and 9 months later I had a kid. I had a whole nother person that I need to be responsible for, and everything, their very survival is dependent upon me.
But that's why it's so important to be community, because maybe if we had a stronger community presence, like it wasn't about bringing one person into the household, but if there was support of the community, you know, like in community, we advocate doing well in school. And so sometimes even like with peer pressure, you fix certain things because the environment says you got to do it this way. So if we could move past maybe trying to be in relationship with one another and just being present for one another and being present for the young people in a community sense, not that man-woman thing, I think we fare better.
I don't disagree with none of that. But I often say the real answer to all of our problems is love.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? All of them. But I think there's a distortion on what love really means and what it really is. Going back to the social dynamic of how it shapes our behaviors and our thoughts and all of that. So even in regards to like doing well in school, and even in you saying there's no handbook to parenting, I agree at some levels, but I also disagree. And I often say if you can find quiet time, all the information that you seek is inside of you already. Like, I think we're so far removed from the spiritual aspect of our beings.
Yeah.
We're operating totally outside of the proper polarity of who we're supposed to be as humans. What the fuck is school in the first place?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, seriously. Right?
Eight
Go
hours of
follow the
daycare.
white man's rules, so the white man's makes it acceptable for you to be in this social dynamic.
Let me allow them to teach you how to do what they want you to do.
Right. And we
And
know,
I get daycare
we know
for 8
the
hours.
implicit biases of school and learning and teaching, you know. And you black.
Right.
Right? So to say go do well in this goddamn system that is designed to destroy your confidence,
Is
destroy
asinine.
your creativity. The child is damn near in the right to push back and say, fuck what you talking about.
Right.
But where was community to tell me that? Like, hey, did you consider
Community
that?
did the same shit.
Community did the same shit. And that's what I mean. We're so far out of the proper polarity that we're just feeding traumas. We're just feeding insanities over and over and over and over and again.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find a community member to be like, yeah, it might not be in your best interest to go to that school and be educated that way, right?
And even to do that is for the outcome of meeting that social standard economically.
Exactly.
The goals are all set up by the social paradigm, right? And the social paradigm breeds sickness in us because we're at the bottom of that social structure, right? So it's almost like everything we're doing is counterproductive to our being.
How do you feel when you hear, and I know how you feel because we've had the conversation before, and it popped up this morning on the Mace Jackson show. When you hear people say that silly ass, ignorant, disrespectful, I call it a rallying cry of we ain't our ancestors, as though to say we'll beat y'all ass. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna put up with this kind of racism or this kind of mistreatment from, Karens or white dudes or whomever. We ain't our ancestors. I find that to be ignorant in the sense that you don't fucking know your ancestors then.
Right.
And disrespectful in the sense that, nigga, you wouldn't even be here if they was as much of a hoe as you are presenting them to be.
I think we're so much softer than, granted, we have all this bravado, but I think that by and large, we don't have the type of fight that they have.
Yeah, and
Like, we haven't even demonstrated, like we don't make the
wasn't-
sacrifice and put in the work.
It wasn't 100% of them, you know what I'm saying, willing to go to the mattress about it, right? But the ones that were got us to this point. And the ones that were not, motherfucker, actually, you said it this morning. Actually, you are them. Like you are the rest of the motherfuckers who was just assimilating and being quiet.
But even the rest of them, the one that were quiet, weren't out loud in front, but I think behind closed doors, here's my portion of this work. And it was always, a commitment to one another and us moving forward. And I think that was always present, whether or not they could be that publicly or not.
Sadiq just walked in here a minute ago and he was talking about the American Indians and how colonizers essentially wiped out a complete population of humans. Like, what do you say, 20 million? Something like
It's a
that.
lot, G.
It was a lot
a
of
whole,
American Indians.
a whole country worth of natives were here.
And I bet everybody in this room, if they've ever seen one, can count on their hands how many times they've seen a genuine Native American. I told y'all the story the first time I saw one. I followed the motherfucker around for 2 hours because I just couldn't believe that I had seen one.
Chris Rock got that joke. He was like, you ain't never just seen a family of Indians out to eat at dinner. He's like, you ain't never seen it. He said, even at the fucking Thanksgiving Day Native American parade, they got 3 real Indians and the rest of them are just a bunch of fucking Puerto Ricans with feathers in their hair. He said, that ain't Pocahontas, that's Jennifer Lopez. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But I bring that up though because it also speaks to the Black Panther thing between Black Panther and what was the nemesis of Black Panther? Killmonger, right? And there's that epic scene at the end where he was like, "This is for all my ancestors who I would rather die in the sunken bowels with my ancestors than to live in this life of servitude," or however he phrased it or whatever, right? And maybe we are exactly our ancestors. And maybe the ones that survived are the subservient of the class. Maybe that's a real thing. That's a real thing to consider. And going back to that dynamic of we are the sum total of all those that come before us, maybe that's why that level of fear permeates in us the way it does. Maybe that's part, not only reason, but maybe that's part of that genetic makeup that keeps us in this subservient position. The warriors died because they was warring. I refused to go. One thing you could say about them Indians, at least in regard to the narrative, is they were prideful. Beyond anything else, I'm going to do what I want to do. You know what I mean? And even in the ones that seemingly are, but shit, they got their own, the reservations is horrible.
Yeah.
But they got them. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's like a victory, but it's at least some level of sovereignty that we haven't been able to seem to capture.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I just think it's an interesting way to look at it.
But go ahead.
But I also think it plays into that man-woman relationship thing. You know what I mean? I think that dynamic, even, and I'm specifically talking about our group, our Black people specifically. I think that because of the conditioning, we've been conditioned to operate out of our polarity as men and women. So we're masquerading in the wrong roles. You know what I mean? I think I would be hard as a young man because I had a father. I used to look at my friends and wonder, like, how could your father leave you?
Right.
You know what I mean? I had very little respect for that as a young man. Like, I couldn't fathom the possibility. And I'm talking about 9, 10, these thoughts was running through my head because I saw the effects on my friends at 9, 10. You ain't like me.
Right.
I love y'all, but you ain't like me. I think I told Herb this. It was like, I didn't have to demand respect. I commanded respect, and there's a difference.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to prove myself. It was proven just me showing the fuck up. You know what I mean? And I also, just like I just made that mention here today, in the neighborhood, I was the calm one. But also, I wasn't the one to put it with. And that line never really got blurred like that. But it got blurred around a lot of my friends with each other. And I think back to it, and it was like, again, that makeup of being a man and being around manly energy and knowing when to push the gas and knowing when to back up off the brake. You know what I mean? It's just a different thing. But as I got older and I started to engage, well, shit, when I had children, I would sit in that house like, I know exactly why a motherfucker would leave. It was a different understanding then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, 10, 15 years later, as I've matured at a whole nother level, I'm back to my original paradigm. But it's based on a level of maturity and dealing internally with my own hangups. You know what I mean? And overcompensating when my woman won't deal with hers.
Right.
Because it's the responsibility of me to keep this shit intact, even when the shit ain't where I want to be sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the very narrative of America is selfish and individualistic.
Oh, for sure. That's the American dream.
Yeah. I think that showed up for me, like in your share, you just stated that how could you leave when you have the children? And I think for me at that time, I was being selfish. Like, I didn't want to be there. I didn't even think about how is this going to affect the children. I just assumed he'd still be dead. Like, that never crossed my mind, but it also never crossed my mind that even dead outside of the household would be different. So if I had to make that decision again, I'd stay. I would have been miserable, but I would have stayed, and for the stability of my children.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, at some point you begin to seek that specific replacement. You know what I mean? So, and again, independent of you and how you feel, just trying to find somebody to fill this particular role. And so, yeah, I'm sure you would have stayed.
Yeah, kids don't ask to be here, so we have to take care of them.
That's
we have to do that piece a lot better.
I question that philosophy too, and just in terms of like staying together for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You hear it a lot, you see it a lot. I don't, and again, always, I don't have children, right? But I don't know that's the healthiest environment for them to grow up in either. You know what I'm saying? Just two feuding motherfuckers all the damn time.
But we didn't fight. I was just unhappy. And he spent a lot of time out the house, but we didn't fight. Like, that's not what the household was. I just didn't have what I felt I should have as a woman inside that marriage. Like being celebrated, having that experience of, so that wasn't there. And so that's how I ended up leaving.
You think that's part of the social rearing and social engineering as well? Like, why you as a woman deserve to be celebrated? Not saying you shouldn't, but you know what I'm saying? I just think that we have certain narratives that we lock into as this, the white picket fence, the house with the 2 cars, the dog. But this ain't our reality.
So for me, it was, I need to get as good as I give. And so I celebrated my partner, like my husband. He was my husband. So I celebrated him. I made sure that he had what he needed. I didn't have what I needed. The house was always taken care of. I was always happy to see, like, I remember sharing that one of my favorite sounds at the end of the day was his key in the door. Like, I was happy that he was home and he had that experience of me. But men sometimes, I guess, have a different process for getting to that point. So he was, he had a couple of years on me, but I guess he hadn't reached that stage. Like, I'm settled here and this is enough for me. He was still out there a little bit. And
you just here trying to get handcuffed.
Well, maybe I should have got the fuzzy ones earlier. Maybe the store didn't have any at the time.
He was out there trying to get handcuffed. No, I get it.
But as it relates to like the household, there was no fighting, anything like that. I just wasn't happy.
So I struggle with that too, though, and not from your perspective, but from the outside looking in. Like growing up in my household, my mother and father was at it every goddamn day.
We never argued.
They was at it every day, and I used to be like, "Man, I'm so tired of y'all. Please shut the fuck. Just for real, shut up, right?" But then at the same time, I've been in households where there aren't any arguing, and I'd be like, "It's less love here."
Yeah.
And I think that communication styles are interesting, but I think one thing that happens with arguing is that whatever you got to get out is gonna get out. You know what I mean? And you're gonna either deal with it or you're not. But when you don't have that kind of open air, however it happens, it might look one way to us, but it's still open air communication. And when you don't have it, it's like this internal shit going on, and people start assuming positions. You know what I mean? And I don't know which one is more healthy. I think as crazy as my mother and father was, I could always feel the love.
Yeah.
Because when you stop arguing, you really don't give a fuck no more.
That's one way to look at it, but it's just communication styles. Some people just don't engage. Like I'm a fire sign. I don't have no problem arguing with your ass and still love you just the same. Some people can't move like that. You know what I mean? But I just think the dynamic has always been interesting to me.
You mentioned love a moment ago, and I think that one of the things that I'm realizing, I think our love for one another, just in general, is it's very conditional. It's not unconditional at all. It's on the condition that it's only me in your life, when it's husband and wife. It's on the condition that you do X, Y, and Z that I'm expecting. Like, it's always conditional, because one of the things that I looked at outside of my marriage, like, is as I was reflecting, that man did what he wanted to for him. So if I loved him enough, even if it didn't work for me, I didn't want to take from him, that's what he needed for him. Like being out there, like whatever, sowing his royal oaks, whatever that was for him. If I loved him enough, maybe we could have worked through that, but my love was based on the condition that you were faithful and you brought your behind in the house.
I get it. To that American Indian conversation, I don't know if it's a proverb or a story I heard or read somewhere, I don't remember, but it was, and it might be specific to specific tribes. But a man and a woman mate have a child. But the responsibility of raising the child was on the grandparents. Like, this was like a normal custom.
That makes sense.
And it made so much sense to me as well.
Because
because they're older, more mature, and they're settled in their ways. That young couple though,
they still
exploring
figuring their way,
and they're dealing with the world. So you get the healthy rearing of that child from this more mature fraction. And I always thought that was a very interesting perspective to have. And it makes more. And if we being real honest, because of the level of abandonment that our community has, it's grandparents raising their kids anyway.
I'm finna make a baby, dropping them off with Lorianne immediately.
Lorianne would go for it. Andrea wouldn't.
She would be so happy.
Andrea be like, "Don't you ever."
My mama would be charged.
And my mom was like, "Don't you ever."
Don't you ever.
My mama,
I already knew.
I have to fight to get my baby back. Hey, here to pick up my baby.
But again, it's proper polarities, right? So I told you this story about my grandmother and my grandfather playing on the grass. My grandma would be like, "Stop playing on the grass." My grandfather be like, "We ain't raising grass. We raising children." Perspective is important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It really, really is.
Perspective is important.
And then how you go about dealing with those things when they pop up, right? You talked about different communication styles and, being willing to sit here and argue versus shutting down, fight or flight type thing. For me, I'm perfectly fine in debate or argument or whatever. I'm cool with that. However, I'm very stubborn, but two, I get to a space where it's like, I don't see no point in this. This isn't going any fucking where. I'm just done with it. And I don't care what it is. Once I decide this shit is stupid and dumb, it's stupid and dumb and I'm done with it. And so, in my marriage, it was like, okay, here's a problem that we have, right? Let's go about trying to address it, right? For as long as I can fucking stand trying to address it. But after that, fuck it. I'm leaving. I'm just out. Like, out, all this shit, yours. I'm leaving. Like, I tried to figure this shit out, didn't fucking work. That's the end of that. I'm not saying that's the best way, but it's my way.
I know that we only got a minute left.
Yeah.
I think though that's part of the struggle and part of the journey of relationship. Like, I think it's enduring until you win, right? And I know people say that's crazy, but I really think it's enduring until you win because
you ain't learned the lesson yet.
Because your competitor is not your partner. It's yourself. It's yourself. And if it's meant to be that y'all separate, that person will remove themselves from your life peacefully because the lesson will have been learned, right? And I'm equate this to just life. Like, I told a story about my father passing in my house, passing away in my house. And I read all these books, and I had seen other people die, and I was waiting for this goddamn traumatizing moment.
Sure.
And my father left up out of here very peacefully. And it resonated to me, and it didn't even affect me in the way I thought it was going to affect me. Because at this point, this is my best friend at this point, right? And it didn't affect it didn't affect me in the way that I expected it to affect me. And I came to the conclusion that he had done his job. He had came here and done what he was supposed to do.
He ran his race. Completed his course.
There's no hindering that progression.
Right.
And you can only respect it. And you not only respect it, you begin to appreciate it.
That's why I say when people ask me specifically about my marriage, like it just ran its course. Like, and you've commended the way we've gone about it a couple of times, and I think that we can go about it peacefully because it's just like whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all good. Like we got together at 20, that was 15 years ago. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing, I'll do mine. Tumultuous ending to it, but that was just a culmination of a bunch of shit. You know what I'm saying? And so, you'd be like, whatever. And then you find a way to peacefully proceed if possible. And I think that you're right. If you have actually run that course and it's over, then it can end peacefully. If not, we finna throw and kick and scream and break shit and make your life a living hell. And I ain't that kind of person anyway. I'm just not vengeful like that. Whatever. Like I just move around. But anyway, we gotta get up out of here, man. Thank y'all so very, very much for tuning in. Greatly, greatly appreciate y'all as always. Thank y'all so much for you all's input, for sharing your personal experiences. BT, I saw you talking about some really deep stuff, man. Some introspective stuff.
BT also said that we couldn't have the Indian thing work in our community because grandmamas is 30.
Touche, BT.
Touche.
Touche.
It was a grandmama that got the little boy shot up on Lakeshore Drive last
It
week.
was.
A couple weeks ago.
It was the grandmama.
Touche, BT.
Touche, BT. I'm with you when you're right, my brother.
With you when you're right, my brother.
We got to get up out of here. We will be back here Monday, same time, same place at 3 p.m. Jules, thank you so much for taking the time again. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Shout out to Ron Rilla for doing
absolutely nothing.
We don't fucking know, but he's doing it. You know, he don't know what he's doing. We don't know what he's doing, but he is back there, and that has to count for something.
Milking the clock. Fight for 15.
I got love for you, sir.
Shout out to Ron Rilla.
Ron is back there fighting for 15. That's what he's doing.
Ron be ready to leave as soon as TT done. TT.
TT.
We at the skating party. TT. I say, call her TT in public again. Call her TT out here in this goddamn bowling alley and skating rink one more time. Anyhow, he Ron Rilla. She's Juliet Scott. He is Toussaint Werner. We'll see y'all Monday. Until then, y'all be good to each other. Peace.
WIIFTBP.
You about that life? I'm about that life. You ain't really about that life. If you really about that life, JC, spit a key. Let me test your work. Boss, you the boss? Let me test your work. Jeez, you talking breezy? Let me test your work. Cam, you the man? Let me test your work. Dre and Snoop, like that chronic, I need something stronger. Molly cute, that's like an aspirin for my daughter. Big time, in the club with a case of Ace. And I sniff that whole table. Scarface, another court case. I'm a frequent offender. When Wyclef was hot, I was gone to November. 6 years, hard time. Bobby was fucking up, Whitney could have been mine. We would have been so high and so in love. When Amy Winehouse died, I could have saved her. I could have smoked like half of that. She wouldn't have had to go in cardiac. Arrest, hands up under her dress. Lindsay Lohan her mess, but I still cope above her breast. I must confess, I heard from a little birdie. Bring some crystal meth, you can get that from Fergie. Had a real nice dream, me and Charlie Sheen.